Hello there, and welcome to The Tired Thinker, a quiet corner of the internet where heavy thoughts are given room to breathe. Tonight's slow reflection takes us into dark and tangled places, disturbing moral dilemmas. These are questions with no easy answers, choices that press against the edges of what we believe to be right or wrong. From decisions about sacrifice and survival to loyalty, truth, and justice. These are the moments that reveal who we are and who we might become. You may never face these exact situations, but exploring them can stir something deep within, a reminder of how fragile and complex our values really are. Before we step into this quiet storm of thought, I'd love to know, where are you watching from and what time is it where you are? It's strange, isn't it? A video about difficult choices, and here we are, scattered across the world, each carrying our own private dilemmas, quietly connected through this moment. If you find these slow, thoughtful explorations meaningful, or if you're simply here to rest your mind after a long day, I'd be grateful if you gave the video a like or gently subscribed. It helps this small channel find others who might need a calm space to sit with heavy questions too. Now, take a breath, steady yourself, and let's begin. A trolley screeches down the tracks, its metal wheels grinding against the rails. You stand beside a lever, your hand hovering over it. Ahead, 5 people are tied to the main track, unable to move. On the side track, only one person is tied down. You didn't tie them there. You didn't set the trolley in motion. You are just here, at this exact moment, with this exact choice. The air feels heavy, and the noise of the trolley grows louder, demanding a decision you never wanted to make. You look at the 5 on the main track. They twist and shout, trying to break free. Their voices mix into a single desperate sound. The lone figure on the side track lies still, watching you, silent but with eyes wide open. The lever is simple. Pull it, and the trolley switches tracks. You save 5 lives. You kill 1 person. If you do nothing, the trolley stays its course. The 5 die. The 1 lives. It's a clean trade in numbers. But it feels like a trap. Whatever you do, someone dies because you were here. Imagine you're on your way home from work. You didn't expect this. One moment you're thinking about dinner. The next you're staring at an impossible decision. You ask yourself, if I pull the lever, am I a killer? The 1 person wouldn't have died if you had stayed away. But if you do nothing, 5 people die and you let it happen. Some would say inaction is safer. After all, you didn't create this situation. The world placed it before you. But others argue that standing by when you could save 5 lives is worse. You could act and you didn't. Your mind races. You think of them as numbers. 5 versus 1. A cold calculation says save the 5. That's what emergency workers do. Doctors, firefighters, soldiers. They act fast and accept loss to save the most lives. You could see yourself as one of them, acting in service of a greater good. But the moment you grab the lever, the act feels personal. The lone figure on the side track will die because you made a choice. You picture their family, friends, everything they've done and everything they might do. You imagine holding the lever and watching them vanish under the steel wheels. The thought makes your stomach turn. What if you know one of them? Imagine the lone person is a close friend. Maybe it's your brother or sister, someone you've known all your life. On the main track are strangers you've never met. The numbers stay the same, but the feeling shifts. The abstract math falls apart. You picture the empty chair at your next family dinner. You hear the sound of grief in your own home. Now pulling the lever feels impossible. Maybe you freeze and do nothing, letting fate choose for you. Maybe you still pull it, trembling, because deep down you think 5 lives weigh more than 1. Even when that 1 is part of you, the problem doesn't stop with friends and family. Suppose the 5 people on the main track are strangers, but you know they've hurt others. Maybe they've done terrible things, crimes, betrayals, harm to many. The lone figure on the side track is kind and generous. Suddenly, saving the 5 feels wrong. Even if you try to ignore their past, your mind keeps asking, who deserves to live? Who deserves to die? You realize there's no way to measure worth in the split second before the trolley arrives. Your hand hovers over the lever. Sweat runs down your neck. The sound of the trolley grows louder, filling your head. There is no pause button. If you wait too long, you lose your chance to choose. You feel the weight of action pressing against the weight of inaction. You tell yourself you're only one person. The world shouldn't hinge on you. But in this moment, it does. You think of history. Leaders who made choices that cost lives. They had time, advisors, plans. You have none of that. You have a lever and a heartbeat. The situation feels unfair because it is unfair. You didn't set the trap, but you are the one who must spring it. Some say this problem mirrors life. Every day, people face decisions that hurt some while helping others. Governments send aid to one place and not another. Companies lay off workers to stay afloat. Parents choose which child gets the last piece of bread. These choices are quieter than a runaway trolley, but they are the same at their core. Someone wins, someone loses, and you must decide who. You imagine another version of this moment. What if the lever didn't exist? The trolley would rush forward, kill 5, and no one would blame you. You could walk away sad but guilt-free. The lever changes everything. It gives you power, and with power comes responsibility. Doing nothing now feels like a choice, even if you only stand there. You wonder if people would see you differently. If you pull the lever, they might call you a hero or a murderer. If you don't, they might call you weak or heartless. Either way, you must live with the memory of the one who died. The trolley is almost here. You see the faces of the 5, straining against their ropes. You glance at the lone figure. Your throat tightens. In 1 second, your hand moves. Maybe you pull the lever. Maybe you let it stay where it is. The sound of the trolley roars in your ears, drowning out everything else. Then it's over. Silence falls, broken only by the hiss of cooling metal. You look down the tracks and see what you've done, or what you've allowed. In that silence, there is no right answer, only the weight of the choice. A hospital is quiet in the early hours of the morning. The halls smell faintly of antiseptic, and the steady hum of machines fills the background. In one wing, 5 patients wait for miracles that have not come. Each one needs a different organ to survive. Without them, their bodies will fail. They have been on waiting lists for months, maybe years. Some lie unconscious, their breath shallow, machines doing the work their bodies can no longer manage. Others are awake, aware of how little time they have left, watching the clock as if each tick might be their last. The surgeon walks between their rooms, hands in the pockets of a white coat, mind heavy with numbers and names. He knows them all. The young man in room 1 with failing kidneys, who dreams of seeing his daughter graduate. The middle-aged woman, whose liver is scarred beyond repair from disease she never asked for. The teenager whose heart gives out every few hours and must be shocked back to rhythm. 2 others in critical condition, all of them depending on the same thing: a donor who may never arrive in time. As the surgeon moves through the hall, a healthy man walks through the doors. He is there for a simple checkup, nothing serious. He is polite, unaware of what waits behind those closed doors. His body works perfectly. He has a strong heart, clean lungs, a liver and kidneys that could give life to those fading in the nearby rooms. To him, this is just another day, another routine visit before he goes home to his family. The surgeon stops and watches him. A thought forms, unbidden and unwelcome. If this man were to die right now, 5 others would live. 5 futures restored. 5 families saved from grief. One body could be the difference between hope and despair. The thought feels cold, clinical, almost mathematical. One life traded for 5. The logic is simple, but the reality is not. Imagine the surgeon goes through with it. The healthy man sits on the exam table, chatting about his plans for the weekend. The surgeon nods, pretends to listen, then injects something into his arm. The man slumps, silent, unaware of what has been done to him. In the operating room, the surgeon takes what is needed. The 5 patients wake with renewed strength, their families overjoyed. They see only the miracle, not the cost. The healthy man's family never sees him again. They search, they grieve, they wonder why he never came home. The surgeon carries that secret alone. He saved 5 lives, but he had to take 1 to do it. Even if no one finds out, he knows. He knows he killed an innocent man who trusted him. Some would argue that this is no different from the trolley problem, only with scalpels and operating lights instead of steel wheels. 5 versus 1. Save the many, sacrifice the few. But the setting changes everything. The healthy man didn't walk in tied to a track, waiting for fate to decide. He walked in trusting the hospital to heal, not harm. The act here is not redirecting a runaway trolley. It is creating harm where none existed. The surgeon becomes the cause, not the witness. Picture the surgeon explaining himself. "I saved 5 lives," he might say. But imagine saying that to the mother of the man who died. She might ask, "Who gave you the right to decide his life was worth less?" The surgeon would have no answer, because there is none that can ease that kind of loss. Think of the ripple effect. If word spreads that hospitals take healthy people to save others, who would ever walk through those doors again? Trust would shatter. People would hide their illnesses. They would avoid checkups, refuse tests, even flee when they saw doctors. Fear would replace care. The entire system would collapse because no one would feel safe. The surgeon knows this. He has sworn an oath to do no harm. It is not just a line in a book. It is a promise that gives meaning to his work. Without it, every patient becomes a potential resource instead of a person. The line between healer and killer blurs until it vanishes. Imagine, too, that the healthy man is not just a stranger. Maybe he has a family, a wife, children, friends who depend on him. His death would tear through their lives like a storm. The 5 who were saved would go home to their loved ones, but one household would be left empty, haunted by questions with no answers. Saving 5 lives might seem like a victory, but the cost would spread far beyond a single death. The surgeon thinks of other paths. Maybe there are donors out there whose families agreed to give their organs after death. Maybe new treatments or machines could keep his patients alive until a match appears. Maybe one will recover against all odds. These hopes feel fragile, but they matter. They remind him that there are ways to fight illness without crossing a line that can never be uncrossed. Still, the pressure builds. The 5 patients grow weaker each day. Their families plead for help, their voices breaking with desperation. The surgeon hears them, feels their grief, and knows he has the power to end it. That power weighs on him like a stone. One night, he stands outside the healthy man's room, watching him laugh with a nurse about something small and ordinary. In another wing, machines beep beside the 5 fading patients. The surgeon closes his eyes and sees both scenes at once: the laughter and the suffering, the living and the dying. He could act now. No one would know. The 5 could wake tomorrow with new strength, and the healthy man would simply vanish from the record. The world might even call him a hero, never knowing what he did. But as he stands there, he understands something deeper. The act would not just take a life. It would take his own humanity. It would turn the hospital into a place of fear instead of healing. It would turn every future patient into a potential victim. The surgeon steps back, his hands trembling. He walks down the hall to face the 5 waiting patients. Knowing some may not survive, he cannot save everyone, and that truth hurts more than he can say. But he chooses to carry that pain rather than create a new one. Outside, the sun rises. The healthy man leaves the hospital, unaware of how close he came to a fate he never imagined. The surgeon watches him go, silent, then turns back to his patients, ready to fight for their lives in every way he can, without crossing the line that defines who he is. The storm comes fast and without warning. One moment the sea is calm, only rolling with gentle swells beneath a gray sky. The next, black clouds sweep across the horizon, and the wind howls like a living thing. Waves rise higher than houses, crashing over the deck of the ship. People scream, clinging to railings, their faces pale with terror. The ship tilts, shudders, and then the metal hull groans as if it's breaking apart. When the lifeboats are lowered, panic takes over. The crew shouts orders, but the storm drowns out their voices. Everyone rushes forward, desperate to escape before the ship goes under. The lifeboat rocks wildly as people climb in, pushing, shoving, clawing for space. Cold salt water soaks clothes and skin. Somewhere behind you, someone cries for help, but you can't see them through the sheets of rain. Finally, the lifeboat detaches and drops hard into the raging sea. The impact rattles your bones. You glance around and count heads. There are too many. The boat sinks lower with every wave. Water sloshes inside, rising around your ankles. The wood creaks in protest. A grim realization spreads through the group. The boat will go under if someone doesn't leave. If no one goes, everyone dies. The first arguments erupt. Some insist no one should be thrown out, that you should wait and hope for rescue. Others shout that waiting will doom you all. The boat takes on more water, proving the second group right. Everyone looks at everyone else. Fear mixes with anger. It becomes clear that this decision cannot be delayed. You try to think logically. Who contributes most to survival? There's a sailor among you who knows how to navigate by stars and currents. Without him, you would drift aimlessly. Beside him sits a doctor, clutching a small medical kit. She can treat injuries, prevent infections, keep people alive until help arrives. Two strong young men have been bailing water with buckets, fighting to keep the boat afloat. Without their strength, you'd sink faster. Then there's an older man, weak and frail, coughing from exhaustion. Next to him, a woman lies unconscious, barely breathing after the struggle to escape. A child clings to her, sobbing, unaware of the danger. A businessman in a fine coat shivers and offers money to anyone who will promise to save him, though money means nothing out here. A teenager sits silently, teeth chattering, hugging their knees. The choice grows heavy. Do you value survival skills over innocence? Do you save the child because they have their whole life ahead? Or do you save the sailor and the doctor because they can help everyone else stay alive? The arguments grow louder. The older man speaks up, voice trembling. He says he has lived a long life, and others deserve a chance. He offers to go overboard, but no one moves to help him. His words are noble, but when he looks at the dark, cold water, terror flashes in his eyes. It's one thing to offer, another to leap. The mother with the child cannot speak for herself. The child cries harder, begging others not to hurt her. No one can meet the child's eyes. Pushing her mother overboard would feel like murder. Even if it saved the group, no one wants to be the one to do it. One of the young men shouts that it should be random. Draw straws, flip a coin. Leave it to chance. That way, no one carries the guilt of choosing. Another disagrees, saying that luck doesn't matter when lives depend on skill and strength. He argues the weak must go so the strong can save the rest. His words make sense, but they sound cruel when spoken aloud. You picture yourself in each role. You imagine being the doctor, knowing your skills could save others, but hearing someone say you are expendable. You imagine being the child, powerless and terrified. You imagine being the old man, feeling the weight of a full life, but still clinging to the last thread of it. Each perspective shifts your heart and clouds your judgment. The sailor takes command. His voice cuts through the chaos. He says the decision must be made now, or no one will live long enough to regret it. His eyes sweep across the boat. He points to the businessman, who has done nothing but complain and bargain. Then to the unconscious woman, whose survival is doubtful even if she stays aboard. His hand hovers over the older man, who bows his head, silent. The three of them are singled out. The rest of the group stares, silent except for the sound of waves crashing against the sides. No one speaks, but their faces show relief that they were not chosen. The businessman protests, shouting about fairness, about laws, about how no one has the right to judge. The sailor ignores him. The decision comes down to action. Someone must push them overboard. The doctor refuses. The young men glance at each other, but hesitate. You feel every eye turn to you. Your chest tightens. You never wanted this role, but now you are part of it. The old man places a hand on your arm. His grip is light but steady. Do what you must, he whispers. His acceptance makes it both easier and harder. You nod, unable to speak. The storm rages around you as you move toward him. The water is freezing, biting through your clothes. Your hands shake as you help him stand. His legs buckle, but he steadies himself. You guide him to the edge. For a moment, the boat tilts dangerously, and everyone gasps. Then he slips into the water without a sound, swallowed by the dark sea. The boat rises slightly. It is not enough. The sailor says another must go. The businessman fights back, clawing at the sides, kicking, screaming. The others hold him down while you do what no one wants to do. His scream cuts off as the sea closes over his head. When it's over, the lifeboat rides higher, safer. The unconscious woman remains, but barely. The doctor tends to her, though everyone knows she may not survive. No one speaks for a long time. The storm begins to fade, leaving only the sound of waves and quiet sobbing. The boat is lighter now, but every person aboard feels heavier. You stare at the horizon, knowing the decision will follow you forever. The night is silent, except for the soft rustle of leaves and the pounding of your own heart. You crouch in the darkness, press close to the others, hidden beneath the floorboards of an old cabin. The air is thick and stale, carrying the smell of sweat and fear. Above you, heavy boots stomp across the ground. Soldiers are searching, their voices sharp, cutting through the stillness like knives. You can hear them shouting orders, their language clipped and harsh. They are close. Too close. The group holds its breath, bodies tense, trying to become invisible. One mistake and everyone dies. A single sound could give you away. In the corner, a young mother clutches her baby to her chest. The baby squirms, unhappy with the dark, cramped space. At first, it makes small noises, whimpers, little sighs. The mother rocks back and forth, whispering soothing words, trying to keep it calm. For a moment, it works. Then, the baby lets out a sharp, piercing wail that cuts through the silence like a blade. Every head snaps toward them. Fear floods the small space like cold water. The soldiers outside stop walking. Their boots fall silent. You hear one of them bark a command. Then there is nothing but the sound of the baby crying, growing louder, echoing through the floorboards. The mother panics. She presses her hand gently over the baby's mouth, rocking harder, tears running down her face. The baby fights, twisting and kicking. It doesn't understand the danger, only its own hunger and fear. You see the others' faces in the dim light. Wide eyes, trembling lips. Some silently plead with her to stop the noise. Others cover their ears as if that could make the soldiers disappear. The baby's cries grow desperate, raw, each note another signal to those hunting you. Outside, a soldier calls out. Footsteps move closer. A gun cocks. Someone grabs your arm. Their grip is iron. Their breath hot against your ear. They whisper, barely audible, "You have to do something." Your mind races. If the soldiers find you, they will kill everyone. The mother, the baby, the group. No one will survive. If you silence the baby, the sound stops. The soldiers might move on, but silencing means smothering. You look at the mother. She shakes her head violently, clutching the child tighter. She whispers, "Please no." Her voice breaks on the last word. She knows what you're thinking. She knows there are no good choices left. The group shifts, restless. A man near the wall presses his lips together, face pale. Another rocks back and forth, muttering a prayer. One woman squeezes her eyes shut, mouthing the words, "Do it." The baby's cries grow shriller. The soldiers outside begin tearing through bushes, their boots crashing closer. The sound of a rifle being readied chills you to the bone. You think of what happens if you do nothing. You picture the door bursting open, the soldiers flooding in, the screams, the gunfire. You imagine the blood, the bodies falling one by one. You see yourself dying, not with purpose, but as a victim. Then you imagine the other path. You reach out, press your hand over the baby's tiny mouth and nose. The crying stops. The soldiers pause. A long, tense moment passes. Then their voices fade as they move farther away, fooled into thinking the cabin is empty. But in your mind, you see the baby's eyes staring up at you, wide and full of confusion. You feel the fragile body go still beneath your hand. You imagine the mother's scream as she realizes what you've done, a sound she cannot make now without dooming everyone. The decision burns through you. Numbers swirl in your head, one versus many. If you smother the baby, the group lives. If you don't, all will die. Cold math says the choice is obvious, but this is not math. It is flesh and blood. You think about who these people are. A farmer with hands calloused from years of work. A teacher who once told stories to laughing children. A brother and sister, holding hands, their faces streaked with dirt. The mother, whose entire world rests in her arms. Each one a life with memories, dreams, and unfinished stories. The baby is part of that world too. Too young to know words, to understand anything beyond hunger and warmth. It has done nothing wrong. It only cries because it cannot help itself. The mother catches your gaze. Her eyes beg you to find another way. She shakes her head again, silent tears running down her cheeks. She rocks the baby harder, but it only screams louder. The soldiers shout again. A beam of light sweeps past a crack in the floorboards. You freeze. The group stops breathing. The light lingers, then moves on. A man at the back gestures violently, urging you to act. His face is twisted with terror. He mouths the words, "Now or never." You feel everyone's eyes on you. Their lives balance on the edge of a single moment. The baby wails, thrashing in its mother's arms. Your hand moves on its own. You reach for the baby, your chest tight, your throat raw. The mother clutches it tighter, refusing to let go. You whisper to her, pleading, but she shakes her head. The others lunge forward, prying her arms open. She fights them, biting, kicking, sobbing without sound. The baby is in your hands now, so small, so fragile. You press it to your chest, rocking it once, whispering an apology it will never understand. Then you cover its mouth and nose. The sound stops almost instantly. The silence is absolute, broken only by the heavy breathing of those around you. Above, the soldiers pause again. You hear one say something in a questioning tone. Then, slowly, their voices fade into the distance. Their boots grow softer, then vanish altogether. The danger passes. The group is safe, but you are not. The mother collapses, cradling the lifeless body, silent screams tearing through her as she shakes. The others sit frozen, their relief tangled with horror. No one looks at you. No one thanks you. You sit in the dark, hands trembling, the baby's warmth fading from your skin. You hear the sea of silence around you and realize it will never leave you. You have saved them, but a part of you has drowned in the act. Outside, the world goes on as if nothing happened. Inside, everything has changed. The cave entrance collapses behind you with a deafening roar, sealing off the only way out. Dust fills the air, choking you and the others. When the noise fades, silence settles, heavy and absolute. You shine a flashlight on the walls, but the beam barely cuts through the darkness. You see fear on the faces around you, wide eyes and pale skin. A group of 12 huddles together, breathing hard, coughing. No one speaks at first. No one wants to accept what has happened. Minutes pass, then an hour. You test the rocks at the entrance, but they don't move. Too heavy, too tightly packed. The air grows stale. A faint dripping sound echoes somewhere in the distance. It's then that the voice comes, calm but cold, from a speaker mounted on the wall. You hadn't noticed it before. The voice explains the situation. The cave will flood soon. There's a mechanism, a lever deep inside, that will open a gate and let everyone escape. But there's a catch. Pulling the lever releases a burst of toxic gas into the chamber where the lever sits. The person who pulls it will die instantly. If no one pulls it, the whole group will drown. There is one other option. A button near the entrance can be pressed to randomly select someone to die. The system will then open the gate without requiring anyone to volunteer. The group erupts in panic. Some cry. Some shout at the speaker as if it can be reasoned with. Others stand frozen. Too stunned to move, the voice goes silent, leaving the decision to you. Everyone turns toward you because you had been leading them before the collapse. You were the one who convinced them to explore this path, saying it was safe. Now that choice has trapped them here. You feel the weight of their stares like stones pressing on your chest. You run through the options in your mind. If you walk to the lever and sacrifice yourself, the others will live. They will remember you as the one who gave them a future. But you will never see daylight again. You picture their escape, the rush of fresh air, the sunlight on their faces, their cries of joy. You picture yourself alone in that dark chamber, choking on the gas, your body collapsing, while the sound of their freedom echoes faintly through the stone. The alternative is to let chance decide. Press the button, and the system will choose one person at random. You could live. You could die. Anyone could. It spreads the burden across the group, making the outcome impersonal. A lottery of life and death. The arguments begin almost at once. A man near the back shouts that no one should have to volunteer. He says the button is fair. Everyone has equal risk. A woman argues back, saying fairness is meaningless if someone innocent dies because no one had the courage to act. Another voice cuts in, accusing her of trying to manipulate the group into choosing someone else. The shouting grows louder, echoing off the stone walls until it feels like the cave itself is yelling. You stand apart, silent, listening. You know the truth behind every word. If you sacrifice yourself, you remove the guilt from them. They walk free, knowing they were saved by your choice, not by their own inaction. If you press the button, everyone shares the guilt, but no one bears it alone. You think about the people here, the young woman who just started her life, full of plans and dreams. The older man with gray hair who has a family waiting at home. The couple who whisper to each other, holding hands tightly. You see them as individuals, not just numbers. Each death would ripple outward, touching countless lives beyond this cave. Your mind drifts to your own life. Memories flash through you, mornings spent with coffee and quiet, laughter shared with friends, moments of love and loss that shaped who you are. You realize how much you want to live. The thought of giving that up makes your throat tighten. But then you remember leading them here. You had been confident, certain you knew the way. When the ground rumbled and the rocks fell, it was your voice they followed. If not for you, they might be safe now. The guilt burns hotter than the fear. Someone approaches you, a man with trembling hands. His eyes are wet with tears. "Please," he whispers. "You brought us here. You should be the one." Another person shouts at him, telling him to stop, but others nod slowly. Their silence says more than words. They want you to do it, not because they hate you, but because they believe it makes sense. You close your eyes and imagine the moment, walking alone down the tunnel, the walls closing in around you, reaching out to grip the cold metal lever, pulling it, knowing it will be your last act. You imagine the hiss of the gas filling the chamber, the burning in your lungs. You picture the others escaping while your body lies still in the dark. Then you imagine pressing the button instead. The group huddled together, holding their breath as the system chooses. A light flashing, a name called, the shock on someone's face as they realize it's them. The cries, the anger, maybe even a fight breaking out. You see the group fracturing under the weight of that choice. Even if they all live in the end, the cave drips steadily. The water is rising now, lapping at your shoes. Time is almost gone. You step forward, and the group falls silent. Their eyes follow you as you walk toward the tunnel that leads to the lever. Your legs feel heavy, like each step costs more than you can afford. Behind you, someone sobs quietly. Another whispers, "Thank you." Halfway down the tunnel, you stop. The button is within reach. It gleams in the dim light. Simple and tempting. With one press, you could place the decision on fate instead of yourself. You hover over it, shaking. Your own survival hangs in that hesitation. In your mind, you hear the voice of the man who begged you to act. You hear the woman who spoke of courage. You hear the silence of the others, thick with fear. You realize that whatever happens, you will carry it with you, or not at all. Your hand drops to your side. You keep walking. The air grows colder, heavier. At the end of the tunnel, the lever waits. You grip it, feeling the metal bite into your skin. For a heartbeat, you think of turning back. You imagine the sunlight, the laughter, the life you will never see again. Then you pull. The hiss fills the chamber. Your chest burns. Your vision blurs. In the distance, you hear a rush of water as the gate opens. Voices cry out in relief. Footsteps pound toward freedom. You sink to the ground, darkness closing in. Knowing they are safe because of you, the last sound you hear is their escape, fading into silence. It begins on an ordinary evening. You stop by a small cafe downtown, the kind with warm lights and worn wooden tables. You're there to grab a quick coffee before heading home. The air smells like roasted beans and rain-soaked pavement. You glance around and freeze. In the corner, half hidden behind a potted plant, you see someone you know well. It's your best friend's partner. They're leaning across the table, laughing in a way that feels too intimate. Their hand resting on someone else's. You blink, unsure at first. Maybe it's a cousin, a coworker, someone harmless. But then you see the way they look at each other, the closeness, the lingering touch. It's clear this is not innocent. Your stomach twists. You back away before they notice you, slipping out into the cool night air. Walking home, the weight of what you saw settles over you. Your friend, the one who trusts you with everything, has no idea. You think about how they talk about their partner, how they light up when they describe a kind gesture, how certain they are of being loved. You picture the smile they get when they tell you stories about shared plans for the future. That smile is built on a lie now. At first, you consider saying nothing. Maybe it was a mistake, a moment of weakness that won't happen again. Maybe if you stay silent, things will go back to normal. You tell yourself you don't have proof, only what you saw through a window. But deep down, you know what you saw was clear. You replay the scene over and over. The way their fingers intertwined, the private joke whispered with lips too close. The quick glance around the room, as if to check for witnesses. You feel like a witness to a crime. The next day, you see your friend. They are cheerful, telling you about a weekend trip they're planning with their partner. They speak with so much excitement that your chest aches. You nod and smile, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. The words catch in your throat. You almost blurt out what you know, but you stop yourself. That night, you lie awake thinking of outcomes. If you tell them, everything changes. They may confront their partner, leading to fights, heartbreak, maybe even the end of their relationship. You picture your friend collapsing on the couch, sobbing, asking why you didn't protect them from this pain sooner. But there's another possibility. What if they don't believe you? What if they think you're jealous or meddling? Your friendship could shatter, leaving you alone and accused of ruining their happiness. You also consider the fallout beyond your friend. Mutual friends might take sides. Some may blame you for speaking up. Others may resent you for staying silent. The lie spreads like a crack in glass, touching everyone in its path. You think back to childhood secrets, to moments when telling the truth cost you dearly. You remember the sting of being called a liar, the loneliness that followed. Those memories make you hesitate. The following week, you run into the cheating partner by chance. They greet you with a smile too wide, too practiced. You see the flash of panic in their eyes before they mask it. In that brief moment, you both understand what the other knows. Later, they text you. A simple message. Please don't say anything. It was a mistake. It won't happen again. Your fingers hover over the screen. Anger rises in you. They want you to carry their secret, to bear the weight of their choices. If you agree, you become complicit. If you refuse, you risk everything. When you see your friend again, they seem even happier. They talk about moving in together, about marriage one day. Their trust is complete, unshaken. You sit across from them, nodding, while your heart pounds. The lie grows bigger, almost visible between you. You start noticing small things. A certain look the partner gives when your friend isn't watching. A sudden change of topic when you enter a room. Your anger deepens, but so does your fear. One evening, you imagine the confrontation. You picture sitting your friend down and saying the words clearly, gently. You see their face shift from confusion to disbelief to heartbreak. You imagine their voice breaking as they ask questions you can't fully answer. You also imagine doing nothing. Years pass. They get married. They have children. Every family gathering, every holiday, you smile through the guilt, while knowing you could have stopped the lie at the start. The thought makes you feel sick. You weigh the two futures. In one, you speak and risk destroying their world. In the other, you stay silent and let the lie live. Both paths hurt. One night, your friend calls you late. Their voice trembles. They think something might be wrong. The partner has been distant, distracted. They ask you outright if you've noticed anything. The question hits like a blow. This is the moment. You pause. The silence stretches, heavy and sharp. You picture their face on the other end of the line, waiting, trusting you completely. You think about the cafe, the hand-holding, the text begging for secrecy. You think about your own sleepless nights, the knot of guilt in your chest. Finally, you speak. Your voice shakes, but you force the words out. You tell them what you saw, exactly how it happened. You keep it simple, no exaggerations, no guesses. There is silence again, then a choked sound. You hear them breathing fast, their world breaking in real time. They thank you, barely above a whisper, and hang up. The next day, they don't answer your calls. You hear from another friend that there was a fight, shouting that spilled into the street. The partner left in the middle of the night. When you finally see your friend again, they look hollow. Their eyes are red, their voice flat. They tell you it's over. They also tell you they wish they didn't know. You sit with them, holding their hand. You don't say much. There's nothing to fix, no easy comfort. You both understand that the truth has a cost, one you will share forever. As days pass, the wound remains raw. Sometimes, your friend avoids you, unable to face the reminder of that moment. Sometimes, they cling to you, needing someone who stood beside them when everything fell apart. You think back to that night in the cafe, to the first glimpse of betrayal. You realize that no matter what you chose, there was never a clean path. There was only a choice between silence and truth, and both left scars. The cafe still stands, its warm lights glowing in the window. You pass by sometimes, but never go in. You glance through the glass and see only shadows. The memory of two hands touching across a table, and the moment when everything changed. It happens late one night, long after the rest of the world has gone quiet. You sit at the kitchen table, a cup of cold coffee in front of you, when the phone rings. It's your brother. His voice is strained, like he's been holding his breath for years and finally let it out. He asks you to come over. No details, just urgency. You grab your keys and go. When you arrive, his house feels different. The lights are dim, the air heavy. He sits on the couch, hunched over, hands clasped so tightly, his knuckles are white. You've seen him scared before, hurt before, but never like this. His eyes don't quite meet yours. He gestures for you to sit. There's a long silence before he speaks. When he does, his voice is low, almost a whisper. He says there's something he has to tell you, something he's carried alone for years. You brace yourself, thinking it might be about debts, affairs, secrets you can forgive. But it's not that. It's something far darker. He tells you about a night long ago, about anger that boiled over, about choices made in the heat of a moment. His words come in fragments, broken and jagged. A fight turned violent, a stranger dead, panic taking over, a body hidden where no one would find it. Your stomach twists. You want to stop him, to cover your ears and make the words go away. But you can't. The story spills out like poison, staining everything it touches. When he finally falls silent, the room feels colder. You stare at him, your mind blank. This is your brother, the person you grew up with. You remember childhood games, shared meals, late-night talks. The man sitting in front of you is the same person who once held your hand when you were scared, who stood by you through heartbreak and hardship. But now you see him in two ways at once, the person you love and the person who took a life. Your first instinct is disbelief. Maybe he's lying, exaggerating, testing you. But the look in his eyes tells you it's real. This isn't a story, it's a confession. You ask why he's telling you now. His answer is simple. He can't carry it alone anymore. It's eating him alive. Every sound, every shadow, every knock at the door feels like judgment. He says he doesn't want to live like this, but he's terrified of losing everything if the truth comes out. His family, his freedom, his future. You feel anger rise in you, sharp and hot. Anger that he did this. Anger that he put this burden on you. By confessing, he's forced you into a trap. Now you hold his secret, and whatever you do next will change both your lives. If you protect him, you become part of the crime. You'll have to lie, to cover up, to live with the knowledge that justice was denied. You imagine sitting across from someone who lost a loved one that night, knowing you let the killer walk free. The thought makes your chest tighten. If you report him, you betray him. You see his face in a courtroom, pale and broken, looking at you with hurt and disbelief. You picture visiting him in prison, separated by glass, your relationship shattered. You wonder if you could live with that choice, or if it would destroy you too. The clock ticks loudly in the silence. He watches you, waiting, his hands trembling. You realize he has no plan. He's given the choice to you. Your mind races through every angle. You think of the victim's family. Somewhere out there, people still grieve, still wonder why there are no answers. You picture a mother staring at a photograph, whispering prayers into the dark. You think of their pain and your brother's guilt colliding. You also think of the years since that night. He has built a life, a wife, 2 kids, a job that pays the bills. To them, he is a provider, a protector. If you report him, their lives collapse too. His children grow up with the shadow of his crime, their futures forever marked by something they didn't do. The weight of it crushes you. There is no clean answer. Whatever you choose, someone suffers. He begins to cry, a sound you've never heard from him before. He says he wishes he could undo it, that he would give anything to go back. His regret is real, but it doesn't change the fact of what he's done. The past remains fixed, unaltered by tears. You remember a night years ago when he protected you, a fight at a bar, someone threatening you, and him stepping between you and danger. He's been your shield more times than you can count. That memory twists inside you. You imagine calling the police, the words you'd have to say, his name, the details, the location of the body. You imagine the officers showing up at his door, the look on his wife's face as they take him away. You picture yourself watching from the sidewalk, unable to meet her eyes. Then you imagine saying nothing, going home, pretending this night never happened. Each time you see him, you would know. Each time you hug his kids, you would think of the life that was stolen to give them this future. The silence stretches. He finally says, "Please, tell me you'll keep this between us." His voice cracks on the last word. You open your mouth, but no words come. You feel the room closing in, the walls pressing tighter. The world outside goes on as if nothing has changed, but inside this house, everything has shifted. He reaches for your hand. His grip is desperate, almost painful. You feel the sweat on his skin, the tremor in his fingers. You think of the victim's family again, faceless yet present. You think of your own family, of how they would look at you if they knew. Finally, you speak, though your voice sounds like it belongs to someone else. You tell him you need time to think, to breathe, to decide. He nods, relief and dread mixing in his expression. As you leave his house, the night air feels colder than before. The stars shine indifferent above you. You walk slowly, your steps unsteady, carrying a secret that is heavier than any burden you've ever known. Each streetlight you pass feels like an interrogation lamp. Each shadow feels like a witness. You realize that from this moment forward, you are no longer just a sibling. You are a keeper of truth, standing at the edge of two worlds, one where justice is done, and one where love hides the darkest crime. The choice remains yours, and it will not leave you. A night is quiet when your best friend shows up at your door. Their face is pale, their hands shaking. You let them in without question, closing the door behind them. They pace the room, avoiding your eyes, until finally they stop and take a deep breath. You can tell they are about to say something that will change everything. When the words come, they are heavy. They tell you about a secret they've been carrying, one that has been eating them alive. At first, you think it's about love, money, something messy but manageable. Then you realize it's far worse. The secret involves someone else, a stranger to you. But what your friend knows could mean life or death for that person. They lower their voice, glancing at the window, as if the walls themselves might be listening. They explain the details slowly, painfully. It's not just rumor. It's specific, clear, undeniable. They describe a plan that will hurt someone innocent unless it's stopped. You feel your stomach drop as the reality sinks in. When they finish, they collapse into a chair, exhausted, and look at you with pleading eyes. They make you promise not to tell anyone. They say they only told you because they trust you more than anyone else. That trust has been built over years, shared childhoods, late-night talks, helping each other through heartbreak and failure. It's the kind of bond that feels unbreakable, the kind you'd swear you'd never betray. You sit in silence, your mind spinning. On one side is your friend, who has been by your side through every storm. On the other is a stranger, someone whose name you didn't even know before tonight. But that stranger's life now hangs in the balance, and you hold the key to saving them. You try to imagine the stranger. Maybe they are at home right now, unaware of the danger creeping toward them. Maybe they are laughing with family, making plans for the future, completely blind to what's coming. You picture their face, though you've never seen it. You imagine their fear if they knew what you know. Your friend leans forward, gripping your hands. Their voice shakes as they beg you to stay silent. They explain how revealing the secret would destroy their life. They'd lose their job, their family, maybe even their freedom. They say it would ruin everything they've built. You hear the terror in their words and see the desperation in their eyes. The weight of their trust presses down on you. This is not just about information. It's about loyalty, about the invisible thread that ties the two of you together. If you break it, there's no going back. You think about all the times they've protected you. The night you were too drunk to drive, and they stayed up until dawn making sure you were safe. A time you were heartbroken, and they sat with you in silence, no questions asked. The countless moments when they chose you over themselves. But then you think of the stranger again. You picture them walking alone down a street, completely unaware. You imagine the moment of harm, the split second when everything could have been stopped if someone had spoken up. You imagine their family, waiting by a phone that never rings, wondering why they didn't come home. The room feels smaller as you sit there, trapped between two impossible choices. Your friend mistakes your silence for agreement. Relief floods their face as they thank you for listening, for keeping their trust. They hug you tightly, and you feel their heartbeat against yours. It makes the choice even harder. That night, you can't sleep. You stare at the ceiling, replaying every word. You think about calling the authorities, but your hand freezes over the phone. If you do, you will destroy your friend's life. If you don't, someone else will lose theirs. You wonder what loyalty really means. Is it standing by someone no matter what? Or is it holding them accountable when they cross a line? The next day, you see your friend. They act normal, laughing and chatting as if nothing has changed. But every smile feels like a mask. You notice how they glance at you, checking to make sure you haven't betrayed them. Later, you pass a newsstand. A headline catches your eye. It mentions a missing person, the same stranger your friend spoke about. Your breath catches. The danger is no longer abstract. It's happening now. You walk home in a daze. The stranger has a face now, a family, a life. The choice sharpens into painful clarity. That evening, you sit alone with your phone in your hand. You scroll through your contacts, stopping at your friend's name. You hover over it, tempted to call and beg them to do the right thing themselves. But you know what they'll say. They'll beg, they'll cry, they'll remind you of your promise. You put the phone down and pace the room. You think of the stranger again, of their family waiting for answers. You think of the look in their eyes if they knew you could have saved them and didn't. You also think of your friend's face if they find out you told. The betrayal would cut deep. They might never forgive you. They might hate you forever. Time runs out. You imagine two futures. In one, you keep silent, and the stranger dies. In the other, you speak, and your friend's life shatters. You dial the emergency number. Your hand shakes, but you don't hang up. When someone answers, you give only the information needed. You keep your own name out of it. Your voice is calm, steady, even though your heart pounds. When you hang up, you sit in the dark, breathing hard. You know there's no turning back now. The next day, you hear the news. The stranger was saved. The plan was stopped. Their family is safe, their life intact. Relief floods through you, sharp and painful. Then your phone rings. It's your friend. Their voice is cold, shaking with fury. They know it was you. They don't ask, they just say one sentence before hanging up. I trusted you. The line goes dead. You stare at the screen, your chest hollow. You saved a life, but you lost someone who once meant everything. You sit there in silence, knowing both truths will stay with you forever. The call comes late at night. You are half asleep, the room dark, except for the glow of your phone screen. The name on the screen makes your stomach twist. It's your cousin, the one who always seemed to find trouble. You almost let it go to voicemail, but something in your gut tells you to answer. Their voice is frantic, rushed. They beg you to come pick them up, no questions asked. They give you an address and hang up before you can respond. You sit there for a moment, heart pounding, then grab your keys and leave. When you arrive, you find them pacing in a dark alley, sweat glistening on their face. Their hands shake as they pull you toward your car. You notice red stains on their shirt. You ask what happened, but they snap at you to drive. Against your better judgment, you do. A few miles down the road, when the silence becomes too heavy, you ask again. This time, they tell you. Their words come fast, almost tripping over each other. They say there was a fight, an accident. But as they talk, you hear the truth beneath the story. It wasn't just a fight. Someone is dead. Your chest tightens as you grip the steering wheel. A serious crime. The kind that ruins lives. The kind that can't be undone. You glance at them, your mind reeling. This is your family. You grew up together. You remember childhood summers spent building forts and sneaking extra desserts. You remember the times they defended you when others didn't. Now you see them in a different light, and it terrifies you. They beg you to help them hide. They say they have nowhere else to go. Their voice cracks when they talk about prison, about losing everything. They plead with you to keep this secret, to protect them. Loyalty rises in you, strong and immediate. Blood ties are deep. Family is supposed to stand by each other, no matter what. You think of your parents, your grandparents, all the lessons about sticking together. You imagine the shame your family would face if the truth came out. You imagine holiday dinners with an empty chair, with whispers replacing laughter. But another thought pushes against it. Justice. Somewhere out there, a family has just been shattered. Someone's child, parent, or partner is gone forever. They will demand answers, and they deserve them. If you protect your cousin, you deny them that. As you drive, you picture the victim's family. Maybe they're getting a call right now, the kind that brings the world crashing down. You imagine their grief, their confusion, their anger. Their pain feels like a weight in your chest. Your cousin leans back in the seat, muttering about how it wasn't supposed to happen. You wonder if they feel remorse or just fear. You want to ask, but you don't. You pull into a secluded parking lot and cut the engine. The silence is deafening. You turn to face them. They look smaller now, hunched and desperate. You see the cousin who once laughed with you under the stars, not the person who just confessed to taking a life. That makes it even harder. They grab your hand and squeeze it. Please, they whisper. You're the only one I can trust. Your throat tightens. You think of every moment you've shared. You also think of the victim lying cold and still, of the family left behind. The two images clash in your mind, tearing you apart. You consider the choices. If you call the police, your cousin will go to prison. They might never forgive you. Your family might turn against you, seeing you as a traitor. You might sit alone at future gatherings, blamed for tearing the family apart. If you stay silent, you become part of the crime. You'll live with the secret, with the knowledge that justice was denied because you chose blood over truth. You'll always wonder when the knock will come at the door, when the lie will unravel. The weight of both paths presses down on you. You want a third option, one that spares everyone, but there isn't one. Your cousin pulls out their phone and shows you messages, evidence of what happened. You see the victim's name, the threats, the rage that led to that final moment. The reality becomes clearer, sharper. There is no mistake here, no misunderstanding. You step out of the car to breathe. The night air is cold, biting at your skin. You stare up at the stars, wishing for some kind of sign. Behind you, your cousin sits in the dark, waiting. Memories flood you. Birthday parties, shared secrets, the first time you drove together, the first time you covered for them when they got into trouble. It always felt harmless before. Now it feels like a pattern you helped create. You picture the police station, the bright lights, the harsh questions. You imagine walking in and telling them everything. You also imagine driving away, finding a hiding place, starting a lie that would stretch on for years. Your cousin steps out of the car, and comes to stand beside you. Their voice is softer now. "We can fix this," they say. "We just need to stick together." The words cut deep. Family sticking together has always been your guiding rule. But sticking together now means someone else's family will never see justice. You close your eyes. You hear two voices in your head, one whispering loyalty, the other demanding truth. Finally, you take out your phone. Your hands shake as you dial. Your cousin realizes what you're doing and grabs your arm, begging you to stop. Tears stream down their face as they plead, calling you by every nickname from your childhood, trying to pull you back into the past. You can barely see through your own tears as you speak to the dispatcher. You give your location, your name, and a brief, cold summary of what happened. Your cousin sinks to the ground, sobbing. When the sirens appear in the distance, you feel hollow. You stand there, numb, as the lights grow brighter. Your cousin looks up at you one last time, betrayal and heartbreak etched on their face. The officers arrive and take them away. You don't speak. You don't move. As the car disappears down the road, the night feels too quiet. You know you have chosen justice over family, and that choice will echo through every holiday, every gathering, every memory from now on. You stand alone, the cold air wrapping around you, and wonder if you will ever stop feeling like you lost someone long before the sirens came. The room feels too warm as you sit across from her, watching her smile. She's laughing about something small, something harmless, and the sound fills the space like sunlight breaking through clouds. You try to smile back, but your face feels stiff. The words you need to say sit like stones in your throat. She doesn't notice at first. She talks about her day, about a funny story from work, about plans for the weekend. She trusts you completely. Every glance, every gesture is filled with that trust. It makes what you know feel heavier, like you're holding a loaded weapon pointed at her heart. You stare at your hands on the table, fingers curled into fists. The truth burns inside you, desperate to escape. You think about what will happen if you speak. The look on her face will change in an instant. The smile will vanish. The laughter will die mid-breath. The warmth will drain from her eyes and be replaced by something sharp and broken. You picture her collapsing inward, like a building struck by an unseen force. The truth will shatter her. You know this because you've seen what she's built her life on, and you know how fragile it really is. The lie that protects her is simple. It's a story she's believed for years, one she's wrapped around herself like a blanket. It gives her comfort. It gives her hope. Without it, she will have nothing to hold on to. You think about the moment you first learned the truth. It wasn't dramatic. No thunderclap, no sudden flash of light. It came quietly, almost gently, slipping into your life like a whisper you didn't want to hear. At first, you tried to ignore it, to pretend you didn't know. But the truth has a way of sticking, of gnawing at you until you can't escape it. You see her now, talking and laughing, unaware of the storm you're holding back. Every word she says cuts deeper because you know it's built on lies. She notices your silence and tilts her head. "Are you okay?" she asks, her brow furrowing with concern. She reaches across the table and touches your hand. The warmth of her skin nearly breaks you. You nod quickly, forcing a weak smile. "I'm fine," you lie, adding another small falsehood to the growing pile. The question in her eyes lingers, but she lets it go. She keeps talking, and you keep nodding, each moment stretching like a thread, ready to snap. Later, you walk together through the park. The evening air is cool, carrying the scent of cut grass. Street lamps cast pools of light on the path. She walks close beside you, her hand brushing yours. She looks happy, safe. You wonder what right you have to take that away. If you stay silent, she keeps her joy. She continues living in a world that feels whole and steady. She will never know the ground beneath her is cracked, But silence has its own cost. Each day you keep the truth hidden, it grows heavier. You imagine the future, years from now, when the lie might come out anyway. If she learns it from someone else, she will not only feel the pain of the truth itself, but also the betrayal of knowing you kept it from her. You think about what truth really means. Is it always good to reveal it, even when it brings only pain? Or is it kinder to protect someone from a reality that would crush them? You stop walking and look at her. She notices immediately and turns to face you. There's concern in her eyes again, sharper this time. "What is it?" she asks. The moment has arrived, whether you want it or not. Your voice feels trapped, but you force it out. You tell her there's something she needs to know. She frowns, confused, and waits. The words spill out slowly at first, then faster. You tell her what you've learned, every detail clear and unflinching. You keep it simple, stripping away anything unnecessary. There's no softening this truth. As you speak, you watch her face change. The confusion fades, replaced by disbelief, then anger, then a grief so raw it feels like a physical wound. Her breath catches, and she takes a step back as if your words struck her. "No," she whispers. "No, that can't be true." You want to take it back. You want to erase the words, to rewind time to the moment before you opened your mouth. But it's too late. The truth is out, and it hangs between you like a jagged blade. She stumbles, clutching her chest. You reach out, but she pulls away, her eyes filled with hurt and betrayal. "Why now?" she demands. "Why would you tell me this?" You can't find the right answer. You tell her you couldn't lie anymore, that she deserved to know. The words sound weak, hollow. She turns away, pacing. Her shoulders shake as sobs break free. Each one feels like a blow. You stand helpless, watching the person you care about unravel before you. Minutes pass, though they feel like hours. Finally, she sinks to the ground, exhausted. You sit beside her, unsure if she will let you. She doesn't push you away, but she doesn't look at you either. Through her tears, she asks questions you can't fully answer. She wants to know why no one told her sooner, why the world would allow this to happen. You have no good response. All you can do is sit with her in the darkness, sharing her silence. Later, you walk her home. She doesn't speak, and neither do you. And night feels colder now. The street lamps cast harsh shadows, stretching long and thin. When you reach her door, she stops and faces you. Her expression is unreadable, her eyes red and swollen. "Thank you," she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I hate you for it, but thank you." You nod, unable to speak. She goes inside, closing the door softly behind her. You stand there for a long time, staring at the empty doorway. The truth is out, and there's no going back. You know she may never forgive you. You also know that silence would have been easier, simpler. But as you walk away, you understand that sometimes truth and kindness are two separate roads, and you were forced to choose only one. The crash came without warning. One moment, the plane glided smoothly above the mountains. The next, it bucked and screamed as metal tore apart. People shouted, clutched seats, prayed. The world spun, and then there was nothing but white snow and jagged silence. When you wake, the air bites at your skin. Your breath comes in sharp bursts that cloud in front of you. Pieces of the plane are scattered like broken toys. The others are moving slowly, groaning, checking for wounds. Some will never move again. You force yourself to stand, ignoring the pain in your leg, and help pull the living together. The first day, you focus on survival. You drag scraps of metal into a circle to make a shelter against the wind. You gather luggage, break open what you can find. There's a little food, packets of peanuts, a handful of granola bars, a few bottles of water. It's enough for a night, maybe two. By the third day, hunger sets in like a deep ache. You try to ignore it, sipping water, chewing on tiny crumbs. The cold drains your strength. Snow falls endlessly, covering everything in a silent white sheet. The mountains stretch on forever, jagged and unforgiving. No rescue planes appear. Each morning, someone suggests hiking out. But the terrain is brutal. One man tried to walk for help and returned hours later, frozen and shaking, muttering that there was nothing but endless ice and cliffs. His feet are blackened with frostbite now, and he doesn't move much. On the 5th day, the food is gone. People sit in silence, too weak to speak. Stomachs growl loudly, and eyes start to look wild. The cold isn't the only enemy anymore. Hunger has sharp teeth. That night, you hear a sound and see someone crying quietly in the corner. They are staring at a body wrapped in a coat. It's one of the passengers who didn't survive the crash. The sight makes your stomach churn, but the thought that follows is worse. That body is food. The idea spreads without words. People glance at the body, then quickly look away. No one speaks of it, but everyone thinks it. You try to push the thought out of your mind, but hunger keeps bringing it back. On the 7th day, another person dies. This time you all watch as their breathing slows and then stops. The group gathers around, silent. The cold air feels heavier. Someone finally says it. The words come out low and shaking. If we don't eat, we die too. No one responds at first. The statement hangs there, raw and terrible. The man continues, voice steadier now. They're gone. We're still here. We don't have to die. The group erupts in whispers and shouts. Some call it unthinkable. Others say it's survival. You stand apart, listening, torn in two. The idea disgusts you, but your body trembles with weakness. You can barely stand. Your lips are cracked and bleeding. You remember stories you've read, tales of explorers and shipwrecked sailors who faced the same choice. You always thought you'd refuse, that you'd rather starve than cross that line. But now you're here, and the cold truth is different. The group decides to wait until morning. No one sleeps. The wind howls outside, while inside, everyone stares at the two bodies lying motionless in the snow. When dawn comes, a few volunteers step forward. They work in silence, faces blank, hands shaking. You turn away, unable to watch, but the sound of knives on bone fills the air. Someone prays softly under their breath. When they bring the food to the group, you feel bile rise in your throat. The smell is faint, but unmistakable. Your body recoils, but your stomach twists painfully, demanding relief. The first person to eat does so quickly, tears streaming down their face. Others follow, some gagging, some silent. You sit frozen, watching. Your hands tremble. One of your companions kneels beside you, holding a small piece. You need strength, they whisper. If you don't, you'll die. You shake your head, but your vision swims. You think of your family, of their faces if you never return. You think of the people beside you, relying on each other to live. Your hand moves on its own. The meat is cold and hard. You bring it to your mouth, close your eyes, and bite. The taste is strange, metallic. You swallow. And the weight of what you've done hits you like a blow. No one speaks while eating. The only sounds are chewing and quiet sobs. When it's over, everyone sits apart, avoiding each other's eyes. The silence is different now, heavier, filled with shame. Over the next days, strength returns slowly. You can move, think, plan. The food keeps you alive, but it changes you. Each time you eat, you feel a piece of yourself slipping away. You begin to ration carefully. The bodies are finite, and you don't know how long you'll be here. It's a practical thought, but it makes you sick. One night, a storm rages outside, and someone whispers a fear that's been growing quietly. What happens when there are no more bodies? The group falls silent. No one answers. The next morning, you wake to shouting. Two people are fighting, wild-eyed. Accusations fly. Someone claims another tried to harm a weak, sick member of the group during the night. You step between them, shaking. your voice hoarse as you beg them to stop. Trust fractures after that. People sleep in shifts, guarding the living while eating the dead. You never thought survival would feel this way. Like a constant battle, not just against the cold, but against the darkness inside each person. On the 15th day, a distant sound echoes through the mountains. A helicopter. You rush outside, waving, screaming. The others follow, frantic. The aircraft circles once, then lands nearby. Rescuers flood toward you. They wrap you in blankets, hand you food that doesn't come with guilt. You are saved. But as you climb into the helicopter, you glance back at the crash site. The snow covers the ground where the bodies once lay. You know you will never forget. As the helicopter rises, the others cheer weakly. You stay silent, staring at your hands. They are steady now, strong again, but they no longer feel like yours. You know the line you crossed will follow you home. Invisible but permanent. In the eyes of the world, you survived. But in your heart, part of you is still in that cold, white place, tasting something you can never name aloud. The pharmacy lights are too bright, almost blinding. You stand in line, clutching the prescription in your hand so tightly that the paper is crumpled. Your chest feels tight, and your palms are damp. Ahead of you, people move casually, chatting with the clerk, paying for their cough syrup and painkillers like it's nothing. For them, this place is ordinary. For you, it feels like the center of the world. When it's finally your turn, you slide the paper across the counter. The pharmacist scans it and gives you a polite, professional smile. Then they turn to the computer, type a few keys, and pause. The pause lasts too long. When they speak again, their tone shifts. They explain the cost. The number hits you like a punch to the gut. It's more than your rent, more than you've ever held in your hands at one time. You ask if there's a mistake. There isn't. You ask about insurance, about programs to help. They shake their head, their voice kind but final. The medicine exists, but it's out of reach. You leave the counter in a daze, the sounds of the store muffled and far away. Outside, the air is cold and sharp. You lean against the wall, gripping the prescription. In your mind, you see your loved one lying in bed, pale and weak, their breath shallow. Without this medicine, they will die. The doctor was clear. Days, maybe a week at most. You think of the life you shared, laughing over breakfast, long talks late at night. Small, ordinary moments that now feel precious. You think of promises you've made, of times they've stood by you when you needed them. The thought of losing them like this is unbearable. You check your bank account again on your phone, even though you already know what's there. A few dollars, not even enough for a single dose. You consider loans, credit cards, begging friends or family. You've already tried. There's no time, no resources left. You walk back toward the pharmacy doors, but you don't go inside. Instead, you stand near the edge of the parking lot, watching through the glass. The aisles stretch neatly under those harsh lights. The medicine sits on a shelf behind the counter, sealed in boxes, waiting. There's enough there to save your loved one 100 times over, but the only thing stopping you is money. The thought creeps in slowly. If you take it, no one has to die. The pharmacy will restock. The company that makes the drug will keep making billions. The loss will barely be a blip. You picture yourself grabbing the box and running. It would be quick, clean, if you plan it right. Then the risks flood your mind. Cameras, security alarms, police, jail. If you're caught, you won't just lose the medicine, you'll lose your freedom. Your loved one will still die, and you won't even be there at the end. You tell yourself it's wrong. Stealing is wrong. You've believed that your whole life. But as you stand there, staring through the glass, the lines blur. What's worse, breaking the law or letting someone you love slip away because you followed the rules? That night, you sit at their bedside. Their skin is pale, their lips dry. They try to smile, to reassure you, but the effort costs them. You hold their hand and tell them we'll figure something out. They believe you. Their trust makes your chest ache when they fall asleep. You sit in the dark and weigh your choices. In your mind, you see two futures. In one, you steal the medicine. They live. You deal with the consequences later, but at least they are alive to face them with you. In the other, you do nothing. You sit here and watch them fade away while you cling to rules that mean nothing in the face of death. The decision takes shape before you even realize it. The next day, you return to the pharmacy. You don't go to the counter. You wander the aisles instead, pretending to shop. You study the layout, the cameras, the exits. Your heart pounds so hard, you're sure someone can hear it. The medicine isn't on the shelf, but you know where it's kept. Behind the counter, in a cabinet with a glass door. You watch as the pharmacist steps away to help someone. For a brief moment, the counter is empty. You move before you can lose your nerve. You slip behind the counter, grab 2 boxes, and shove them into your coat. The cardboard is cold against your skin. A voice calls out behind you. You freeze, then turn slowly. It's a clerk, frowning, asking if you need help. You force a shaky smile and mumble something about looking for the restroom. They point you in the right direction and turn away. You walk toward the door, your legs trembling. Every step feels like it will set off an alarm. Your breath catches as you push through the exit. The cold air hits you, sharp and clean. No one shouts, no one follows. You don't run. You walk calmly to your car, slide inside, and drive away with steady hands that don't feel like your own. Back home, you open one box. The pills gleam in their blister packs, simple and small. You crush one, mix it with water, and help your loved one drink. Their breathing eases slightly. A spark of color returns to their cheeks. Relief floods you so powerfully, it almost knocks you to the floor. For a moment, you feel nothing but joy. You saved them. You did what needed to be done. But later, when the house is quiet, the weight of what you've done returns. Every siren in the distance makes you tense. Every knock at the door makes your heart race. You imagine police bursting in, taking you away while your loved one cries out for you. Days pass, they grow stronger, and you keep giving them the medicine, one pill at a time. They thank you, unaware of the truth. They think you found a way to afford it. Their gratitude feels like a knife, twisting deeper with every word. You start to notice small things. A flyer at the pharmacy about theft prevention, a news story about rising drug prices, conversations at work about people who can't afford care. You realize your story isn't unique. One evening, you sit beside them, watching them breathe evenly in sleep. You think about the rules you broke and the life you saved. You don't know what will come next, if you'll be caught, if you'll confess, if you'll ever stop looking over your shoulder. But you know one thing with absolute certainty. If you hadn't taken that box, they wouldn't be here now, warm and alive, their hands still within reach. The alarms start as a distant wail, then grow louder, sharp, and unrelenting. The floor vibrates beneath your feet as you run through the narrow corridor, following the others toward the central hall. Red lights flash on the walls, painting every face in a harsh glow. The air smells of smoke and metal, and fear spreads faster than the fire you can hear crackling somewhere deep in the structure. When you reach the hall, you see the problem at once. The evacuation shuttle sits ready, its hatch open and waiting. It can carry only 10 people. You count quickly. There are 30 of you gathered here, all desperate, all alive. The commander steps forward, shouting for silence. His voice shakes, but he holds himself steady. He explains what everyone already knows. The fire is spreading. The air systems are failing. Within an hour, the entire facility will collapse. The shuttle is the only way out. The shouting begins immediately. Some people push forward, trying to reach the hatch. Others scream about fairness, about how everyone has a right to live. The noise is deafening, raw with terror. You stand at the edge of the crowd, your heart pounding. You think of home, of the people waiting for you. You imagine never seeing them again, your name becoming just another line in a report. The commander raises his hands, demanding order. We have 2 choices, he says. We can draw lots, or we can choose who goes based on what skills they have and what they can offer if we survive. The words cut through the noise, but they don't calm anyone. A scientist speaks first, her voice trembling but clear. If we choose randomly, we might waste seats on people who can't help rebuild or keep others alive later. We need doctors, engineers, leaders. She gestures toward herself and a few others. If we choose based on value, we can save the species, not just individuals. A man in the crowd shouts back, his face red with anger. So my life is worth less because I'm not a doctor, because I don't have a fancy title? That's not survival, that's murder. The argument erupts like a spark in dry grass. Some side with the scientist, pointing to the resources and knowledge needed for a future beyond this disaster. Others side with the man, demanding equality and fairness. You listen, torn. The logic of the scientist makes sense. If the wrong people are saved, the survivors might not know how to build shelters, treat wounds, or find food. Without those skills, everyone might die later anyway. But the man's words echo in your mind too. Randomness feels pure. It treats every life as equal, no matter their background. No one gets to play judge, jury, and executioner. The commander looks exhausted already. He rubs his face and says the decision must be made now. There's no time for endless debate. You glance at the crowd, seeing not just strangers, but fragments of their lives. The young woman clutching a pendant, whispering a prayer. The old man leaning on a cane, eyes sharp despite his trembling hands. A teenager with a torn sleeve and a face streaked with soot. Each one has a story, a family, a future they hope to reach. A medic steps forward. If we go by skills, I should be on that shuttle. But so should others who can heal, build, and plan. Without them, survival after this is impossible. She looks around, her expression grim. But if we draw lots and leave it to chance, we might doom everyone in the long run. The crowd murmurs. Some nod. Others shake their heads, fists clenched. You think of an earlier disaster you read about. Survivors chose randomly, and when they reached safety, they realized no one knew how to purify water or navigate terrain. Many died afterward. The thought chills you. But then you picture a lottery where your name isn't chosen. At least you would know it was fate, not someone else deciding you weren't valuable enough to live. That kind of judgment would linger, a wound deeper than death. The arguments grow louder. Someone shoves another person. A fight breaks out, brief but violent. The commander fires his weapon into the air, silencing everyone. We vote, he says. Lottery or skills. Majority rules. The group lines up, each person whispering their choice. When the count is done, the room holds its breath. The decision is close, painfully close. The commander announces the result. Skills. The room erupts again, half in relief, half in fury. The scientist quickly begins naming people. The medic, 2 engineers, a navigator, a leader who can organize the rest. Each name called is a lifeline for one, and a death sentence for another. You wait, heart pounding, as names are read. Yours isn't called. You look at the shuttle, at the open hatch glowing in the red light. You imagine being inside, feeling it rise, leaving this burning place behind. You imagine the cold vacuum outside and the promise of safety beyond it. The final name is read. The chosen 10 move forward, some weeping, some silent with shock. The rest of you stand frozen, knowing what it means. One man lunges forward, screaming, trying to force his way onto the shuttle. Others grab him, pulling him back. The hatch closes with a hiss. As the shuttle launches, the floor shakes. You watch it rise, a bright point against the darkness. For a moment, hope flares. Even if you aren't among them, someone will live. Then the reality settles in. You are staying behind. The others who remain gather close, silent now. The arguments, the votes, the shouts, they all seem distant, meaningless. You are bound together by the same fate. As smoke thickens in the hall, you think about the choice that was made. Skills over chance, logic over equality. You wonder if the shuttle carries the seeds of a future or the weight of guilt that will never fade. You picture the survivors years from now, telling stories about this night. Maybe they will say it was necessary. Maybe they will say it was cruel. The air grows hotter. You close your eyes and listen to the fading roar of the shuttle as it disappears into the sky, carrying with it not just lives, but the burden of a decision no one will ever forget. The night is cold, the kind of cold that creeps into your bones and stays there. The wind howls outside, rattling the broken windows of the shelter you found. You crouch in a corner, clutching both of your children close. Their small bodies tremble under the thin blankets, their breath quick and shallow. You had been traveling together for days, trying to escape the chaos behind you. Supplies ran out 2 nights ago. Water is nearly gone. You've been rationing scraps of food so small they barely count as meals. Each step has been a battle against exhaustion, against despair. Now you are trapped. The bridge you crossed to reach this place has collapsed. There is no way back. Ahead lies a narrow path to safety, but there's a catch. The path ends in a single rescue point where only one person can be taken at a time before the area is destroyed. There is no time for a second trip. The rescuer who brought you here explains it quickly, their face pale with sorrow. You must choose, they say, voice breaking. One child goes, the other stays. The words don't make sense at first. Your mind rejects them. You shake your head, insisting they are wrong, that there must be another way. Both children stare at you, confused and afraid. They don't understand yet, and you pray they never will. But reality presses in. The rescuer repeats it, slower this time. You feel the weight of it settle on your shoulders. There is no one else to decide. It is you. Your oldest child, 8 years old, grips your hand tightly. They've been your helper through this whole journey, gathering firewood, calming their younger sibling, asking questions you couldn't always answer. You see their strength, their intelligence, the spark in their eyes that hints at the adult they will become. Your youngest, only 4, leans against your chest, half asleep. Their small hand clutches the edge of your coat. Their laugh used to fill your home, their innocence a light in dark times. You remember their first steps, their first words. They still need you for everything. Both are pieces of your heart. Both are part of you. The rescuer glances toward the path, urging you to hurry. The danger grows closer with each passing moment. You can hear distant rumbling, like thunder beneath the earth. You try to think logically, but logic feels like a cruel weapon here. You tell yourself to weigh their chances. The older child is stronger, more likely to survive the hardships ahead. They can understand instructions, can help rebuild a life. Saving them feels practical. Then you look at the youngest, fragile and defenseless. They depend entirely on you. If you leave them behind, they won't understand why. They will simply cry for you until the end comes. The thought tears you apart. Your mind races to memories. The day your oldest was born, the way you cried when you first held them. The moment you learned you were expecting again, and how your heart doubled in size to make room for another life. The nights you stayed up with fevers, the birthdays you celebrated, the stories told before bed. You realize there is no fair way to measure love. It cannot be weighed like coins or counted like supplies. The older child senses the tension. Their eyes meet yours, wide and knowing. What's wrong? They whisper. You swallow hard, unable to answer. The youngest stirs and begins to cry softly, sensing the fear in the room. Their small voice cuts through you like glass. The rescuer steps forward, desperate now. You have to choose, they plead. If you don't, you'll lose them both. The words hit you like a physical blow. You want to scream, to curse the world that put you here. But the seconds slip away, and indecision will kill them both. You kneel down, pulling both children close. You press your face into their hair, breathing them in as if trying to memorize every detail. You whisper that you love them, that they are your heart, your life, your everything. The older child speaks first. Their voice trembles, but their words are clear. Take them, they say, nodding toward their younger sibling. They need you more. You break, Tears pour down your face. They are too young to bear this burden, yet they speak with a courage that crushes you. The youngest clings to you, unaware of the meaning behind the words. They just want to be held, to feel safe. You shake your head, whispering no, over and over. You beg for another solution, but none comes. The rumbling grows louder. Dust falls from the ceiling. Time is gone. The rescuer reaches out. Now, they shout. Your hands move without thought. You lift the youngest, your small body warm against your chest. The older child watches, face streaked with silent tears. They force a smile, brave for you though you see the terror beneath it. You whisper to them, voice breaking, I will come back, I swear. You know it's a lie, but you say it anyway. It's all you can give. They nod, as if believing you. You turn and run toward the path. Behind you, the rescuer grabs your arm, pulling you faster. The ground shakes violently. At the edge, you look back one last time. Your oldest stands tall, refusing to cry out, their small figure framed by falling debris. Their final words reach you through the chaos. I love you. Then the path collapses, and they are gone from sight. You stumble forward, clutching the youngest to your chest. The rescuer guides you to safety. When you finally stop, you collapse on the cold ground, sobbing. The child in your arms stirs, murmuring your name. You hold them tighter, rocking them, whispering words of comfort that feel hollow in your mouth. Your mind replays the moment over and over. The choice, the look in your oldest's eyes, the sound of their voice. You know you will carry it forever. A wound that never closes. In the distance, the world burns. Around you, silence stretches. You sit in that silence, knowing that one life was saved and another was lost because of your hands. The disease came like a storm no one saw coming. At first, it was whispers on the news, a strange sickness spreading far away. Then it was everywhere, people coughing, fevers rising, bodies weakening in days, streets emptied, schools closed, hospitals overflowed. You watched as your town fell silent, neighbors disappearing one by one behind closed doors, their windows dark. You didn't expect to be part of the solution. You aren't a doctor or a scientist, but through a twist of luck and circumstance, you now hold something in your hands that no one else has. A small box filled with vials of a clear liquid, the cure. It came to you through a friend who died before he could deliver it to the authorities. He shoved the box into your arms with a single breathless command, protect this, and then he was gone. There are only 10 doses inside. 10. You open the lid again and again, hoping you miscounted, but the number never changes. 10 vials to fight a disease that has taken hundreds, maybe thousands. The first night, you hide the box under your bed and try to sleep. You can't. The faces of the sick haunt you. Some you know personally, your neighbor, who always smiled when you passed, the teacher who once encouraged you, your friend who helped you fix your car last winter. Others are strangers, nameless, but no less human. You understand the math. 10 doses are enough to save a handful of people if you keep the cure whole. But if you try to dilute it, to stretch it so more people can receive a partial dose, you risk it losing its strength entirely. Everyone could die. The next morning, a knock rattles your door. It's your sister. She's pale, breathing heavily. She clutches her stomach and leans against the frame. It's spreading fast, she whispers. The clinics are turning people away. They don't have anything left. You help her inside, heart pounding. She doesn't know about the box under your bed. You tell her to rest, that you'll find help. Later, you sit at the table with the box open in front of you. Your sister's ragged breaths drift down the hall. You think about her life, her stubborn laugh, the way she always believed in you. Saving her is instinct. There's no question. But what about the others? Word spreads quickly. People hear whispers about a cure, about you. Soon, there's a line outside your door. Mothers holding sick children, old men coughing into their hands, neighbors begging through tears. Their voices blend into a desperate chorus. Please, please help us. You want to slam the door to block out their pain, but you can't. You see their eyes, wide with fear, and it's like looking at your own reflection. A local doctor comes to speak with you. He explains the situation calmly, though his face is drawn and tired. If we use the doses carefully, we can save a small group, he says. People who are young and strong, who can help rebuild when this is over. It's cruel, but it's the only way to ensure the future. Behind him, a man shouts in anger. So some lives matter more than others? What about my wife, my children? His voice cracks as he pleads. The room erupts. Some argue for a lottery, drawing names at random so everyone has an equal chance. Others demand priority for certain people, healers, leaders, parents with young children. You sit in the middle of it all, silent. The box feels like a weight on your lap, heavier than any burden you've carried before. That night, you dream of hands reaching for you, pulling you down into a sea of desperate faces. You wake drenched in sweat, the sound of coughing still in your ears. The next day, you make a list. 10 names. You write your sisters first, then others who seem vital. The doctor, a skilled farmer, a teacher who has been caring for orphan children. Each name you add feels like a decision carved in stone. Each name you leave off feels like a death sentence. When you present the list, chaos erupts. Those not chosen scream, cry, fall to their knees. One man lunges at you, fists raised, before others pull him back. The doctor ushers the chosen 10 inside, locking the door behind them. As you administer the first doses, you avoid their eyes. Some thank you through tears. Others sit in stunned silence, too aware of the weight of being saved when so many are not. Outside, the shouting continues. Some beg, others curse your name. You hear fists pounding on the walls, the sound of despair turned to rage. Days pass. The 10 begin to recover, their color returning, their strength slowly building. Outside, the sickness worsens. The line at your door grows shorter each morning, not because people have been helped, but because there are fewer left alive to stand in it. One night, a woman slips past the guards. She collapses at your feet, clutching a small child to her chest. Her voice is raw as she begs for a dose. Just one, she whispers. For him. You open the box and stare at the last vial, the final one. The woman's eyes meet yours. Behind her, the others watch silently, knowing there is nothing left for them. You think about diluting it, stretching it just enough to give everyone a taste of hope. But you remember the doctor's warning. A weakened cure might save no one. If you gamble, you risk wasting it entirely. Your sister stands beside you, her hand on your shoulder. She is alive because of what you did. She whispers, "You have to choose." The child coughs weakly. The sound is small, fragile. Your hand hovers over the vial. The room holds its breath. You close your eyes and make the choice. You don't speak as you act. You can't. When it's done, the woman sobs, clutching the child as if holding the world itself. The others turn away, some weeping, some silent with grief. The box lies empty on the table, its weight gone, but its shadow lingering. The next morning, you step outside. The streets are quiet now, too quiet. The disease has burned through most of the town, leaving only silence in its wake. The 10 who were saved stand behind you, alive but burdened. Their survival feels both like a victory and a wound. You look at the horizon, knowing that every life saved came at the cost of countless others. The choice you made will echo for the rest of your days, long after the disease itself is gone. A room is small, concrete walls damp with moisture, a single light swinging overhead. The bulb hums faintly, casting shadows that stretch and bend like dark fingers. You stand in the doorway, breathing hard, your fists clenched so tightly your nails dig into your palms. In the center of the room sits a man tied to a metal chair. His face is bruised, his lips split, but his eyes are calm. Too calm. You know who he is. You know what he's done. Earlier that night, You saw the aftermath of his crimes, an abandoned warehouse filled with signs of violence, blood on the floor, chains bolted to the walls, a single shoe lying in the corner, small enough to belong to a child. The victims are gone now, taken somewhere else. The clock is ticking. If you don't find them soon, they will die. You pace the room, your mind racing. He's the only one who knows where they are. The police questioned him for hours, using every legal method they had. He said nothing. Now they've turned him over to you, though they won't admit it out loud. This isn't official. It's just you, him, and the truth buried somewhere inside his silence. He looks up at you and smiles faintly. You don't have it in you, he says, his voice smooth, mocking. The words cut deep, because you don't know if he's wrong. You've never hurt anyone before. You've always believed in rules, in laws. You tell yourself you're different from people like him. But as you stand there, the faces of the captives flash in your mind, terrified, desperate, counting on you to save them. You don't even know their names, but their lives now rest in your hands. You try reasoning with him first. You ask where they are. You promise him protection, a lighter sentence, even money. He laughs at every offer. Why would I help you? He sneers. They mean nothing to me. His words are like acid. You feel something inside you snap. You grab his shirt, dragging him forward. They mean everything to someone, you shout. Tell me where they are. He just smirks. You let go, breathing hard. Your hands shake. You step back, forcing yourself to think. The clock in your head keeps ticking. Hours, maybe minutes, before it's too late. If you walk away, those people die. If you break him, they might live. The tools are in a box against the wall. You don't want to look at them, but you know they're there. Rope, a bucket of water. Things that don't belong in a place of law, only in a place like this. Your mind fills with images of what you could do, what you've seen in movies, or read about in reports. The thought makes you sick, but so does the image of those captives dying alone in the dark. You speak again, softer this time. You can stop this. Just tell me where they are, and it ends. He leans back, tilting his head like he's enjoying a game. I like watching you squirm, he says. The words ignite a fire in you. Rage mixes with fear, a dangerous blend. You cross the room and strike him. The crack of flesh against flesh echoes in the concrete space. He grunts, but his smirk remains. It's not enough. You take the rope, tying it tightly around his wrists. You hate yourself for how naturally your hands move, as if some part of you already knew how to do this. You ask again. He stays silent. Time feels slippery now, every second stretching into eternity. Sweat drips down your spine. You imagine the captives huddled together, their voices hoarse from screaming, wondering why no one has come. You begin with something small, just enough to test him. A splash of water over his face, sudden and cold. He gasps, jerking against the restraints, but still says nothing. Please, you whisper. Don't make me do this. He spits at your feet. The rage takes over. You press harder, using every tactic you've heard about but hoped never to see. His breathing grows ragged. His smirk fades, replaced by gritted teeth and defiance. Between sessions, you step into the hall, leaning against the wall, shaking. Your reflection in a cracked mirror startles you. Your eyes look wild, hollow. You barely recognize yourself. You think of the people waiting to be saved, their families, their futures. You remind yourself this isn't about revenge. It's about them. When you return to the room, he's slumped forward, sweat dripping from his face. You kneel beside him, speaking quietly. It doesn't have to go on. Tell me where they are. End this. For a moment, you think he might break. His lips part, but no words come. Instead, he laughs again, hoarse, but mocking. You're no better than me, he whispers. The words hit harder than any blow. Maybe he's right. Maybe by crossing this line, you've already lost something you can never get back. But then you hear it. Distant sirens outside. The police are searching, but they're blind without him. You have minutes, maybe seconds. You grab his chin, forcing him to meet your eyes. They don't have time, you say, your voice shaking. You can save them, or you can watch them die. Finally, his mask cracks. Fear flickers in his gaze. He coughs, spits out a location, a warehouse on the edge of town near the river. You freeze, unsure if he's lying, but you have nothing else to go on. You run, leaving him tied to the chair. Outside, the night air feels like ice on your skin. You call the police, shouting the address. By the time you arrive, the captives are being let out, weak but alive. Some cry, some clutch each other in silence. The sight nearly brings you to your knees. But when you return to the interrogation room later, the chair is empty. He's gone. No one saw who took him. You stand in the doorway, staring at the ropes you tied, the tools you used. The room smells of sweat and fear. You saved them. That's what everyone will say. They will call you a hero. But you know the truth. You crossed a line tonight. You proved him right in a way that will haunt you forever. As dawn breaks, you sit alone, hands trembling, wondering whether the lives you saved were worth the part of yourself you lost. The night air is thick with smoke, carrying the sharp smell of burning wood and oil. You stand on a cliff overlooking the valley, watching the fires spread through the town below. Screams drift up through the darkness, faint but unmistakable. You grip the railing so hard your knuckles ache. Behind you, voices argue, low and urgent. There are two groups of people. One is small, maybe 20 in all. They're hiding in a bunker deep in the woods. They are frightened, but safe for now. Among them are children, an elderly couple, a few men and women who have fought to stay alive through every hardship. You know their faces, their names. You've shared meals with them, laughed with them, listened to their stories. The other group is much larger. Hundreds trapped in the burning town below. You can see their silhouettes moving through the smoke, scattered and desperate. If they aren't saved soon, they will die. The choice is yours alone. The radios are dead. And you're the only one in a position to act. You have access to a set of explosives hidden along the mountain pass. If you detonate them, you'll block the enemy's advance and give the people in the valley a chance to escape. But there's a cost. The blast will destroy the bunker. The smaller group, the ones you know by name, will have no chance to survive. If you do nothing, the enemy will reach the valley and slaughter everyone there. The small group in the bunker will live, but the hundreds in the town will die. You close your eyes, trying to push back the rising panic. Numbers swirl in your head, cold and impersonal. 20 versus hundreds. Logic says the answer is simple. You save the many. But when you think of the bunker, logic crumbles. You see their faces so clearly. The old man who fixed your boots when they fell apart. The little girl who braided wildflowers into your hair. The mother who gave you her last piece of bread when you hadn't eaten in days. Behind you, someone speaks. It's your second in command, their voice steady, but tight. We don't have time. If we're going to act, it has to be now. You don't turn to face them. You just stare at the fires below, at the thin threads of life hanging by seconds. Your mind drifts back to the beginning, when all of you were just trying to survive. You remember the day the bunker group was found, huddled in the ruins of an old school. They were starving, terrified. You promised them safety. You swore you'd never let harm come to them again. That promise has guided you through every hard decision since. And now, keeping it might mean hundreds die. You whisper their names to yourself, like a prayer. It makes the choice feel heavier. The radio crackles suddenly, weak but clear enough to hear a single message from the valley. A child's voice, crying out for help. Then, silence. Your second in command places a hand on your shoulder. If we don't do this, they say, we'll lose them all. You know that. You nod because it's true. You've run the numbers in your head over and over. If you don't act, The enemy reaches the valley within the hour. There will be no rescue. But knowing the math doesn't quiet the storm inside you. You try to imagine standing before the bunker group and telling them the truth. You picture the mother clutching her baby, the old man with his trembling hands. How do you explain that their lives are being traded for others they've never met? There are no words that can make that right. You wonder if morality is a scale, if one side can outweigh the other simply by having more lives on it. Or if morality is personal, tied to promises and faces you know. The decision becomes a physical thing, pressing down on your chest. You can barely breathe. The fires below spread higher, sparks leaping into the night sky. The cries grow louder. Your second-in-command's voice breaks through the noise. We have to move. You walk to the detonator. The metal feels cold against your palm. In that moment, you think of every story you've ever heard about sacrifice. Heroes who gave their lives to save others. Legends where one small act changed the fate of many. Those stories never mention how it feels. The shaking hands, the hollow stomach, the taste of bile in the back of your throat. You press the button. The explosion rips through the mountainside, a roar that shakes the ground beneath you. Flames light up the night as rocks tumble, blocking the pass completely. The valley is cut off. The enemy will never reach it. For a heartbeat, there's silence. Then cheers rise from the town below as the survivors realize they've been saved. But the sound doesn't comfort you. Your gaze shifts toward the woods where the bunker lies hidden. There's nothing there now but smoke and darkness. Your second-in-command clasps your shoulder again, murmuring words of gratitude, of victory. You don't respond. You walk into the woods alone, each step heavy. You know what you'll find. Silence, rubble, the absence of voices you once knew. As you approach the clearing, the smell of dust and ash fills your lungs. You stop at the edge, unable to go farther. In your mind, you see the bunker as it was. The laughter of the children, the warmth of the fire, the quiet conversations late at night. Now it's just a memory. You sink to your knees, hands gripping the cold earth. Behind you, the valley survivors begin to climb the path toward safety. You see 20 faces, and no numbers can make them disappear. A night before the election is quiet, almost too quiet. You sit alone in a dark office, the glow of computer screens casting long shadows across the room. On one monitor, numbers stream past in neat columns. Votes, projections, turnout models. On another, a single line of code waits for you to press enter. That one line could change everything. Outside, the city buzzes with nervous energy. Posters of both candidates hang on walls and lampposts. Crowds gather in squares, chanting, waving signs, clashing in heated arguments. The air feels electric, full of tension and fear. You know what tomorrow means. If the wrong person wins, the country will fall into chaos. It's not just political spin. You've seen the classified reports, the plans already in motion. Mass arrests, censorship, violence. Whole communities will be torn apart. You've also seen what the other candidate can do. They aren't perfect. No leader ever is, but they want peace. They have plans to rebuild schools, repair broken systems, and heal old wounds. Under their rule, there's a chance for stability, maybe even hope. The problem is clear. The benevolent candidate is going to lose. The polls are close, but you've done this work long enough to read between the numbers. Fear and anger are winning, and they favor the tyrant. That's why you're here, staring at that line of code. It's simple, too simple. If you run it, the vote count will shift just enough to guarantee victory for the good leader. No one will know. The results will look natural. A close win, but a clean one. History will record it as the will of the people. You lean back in your chair, rubbing your temples. The weight of the decision presses down like a physical force. You think of the rallies you've attended, the speeches you've heard. People believe in the process, flawed as it is. They stand in long lines to cast their votes because they trust the idea that every voice matters. If you rig the election, you're not just choosing a leader, you're breaking that trust forever. But then you think of what happens if you don't act. You've seen the tyrant's supporters. You've watched them march through the streets, chanting for blood. You've heard their leaders' promises, not of unity, but of domination. If they win, there will be no free elections ever again. Democracy itself will die, crushed under a boot. The irony makes you laugh bitterly. By compromising democracy now, you might be saving it. By keeping your hands clean, you might be letting it disappear entirely. Your phone buzzes. It's a message from a friend who lives in a border town. "Please do something," the text reads. "We can't survive what's coming." You stare at the words, unable to reply. The first time you believed in elections, you were a child. Your parents took you to a polling station, showed you how people marked their choices on paper. You remember the pride on their faces, the sense of community as neighbors gathered to shape the future together. Back then, democracy felt sacred, untouchable. Now, years later, you know how fragile it really is. You've seen how lies can spread faster than truth, how fear can twist votes into weapons. The system is only as strong as the people who protect it, and right now, it's failing. You open a file on your computer. It contains evidence of the tyrant's plans, hidden bank accounts, secret deals, orders already signed and ready to go into effect on day one. If you release this, maybe it would sway in the election, but you've tried that before. No one listened. The lies drowned out the facts. Your hand hovers over the keyboard. You imagine the future in two paths. In the first, you run the code. The good leader wins. Streets stay calm. A nation breathes a sigh of relief. Years later, no one remembers the details of this election. Children grow up free, never knowing how close they came to losing it all. In the second path, you do nothing. The tyrant wins. Protests fill the streets, then turn to riots. Soldiers are deployed. People vanish in the night. A generation grows up under fear, and the memory of freedom fades like smoke. Both paths carry a price. In one, you sacrifice truth. In the other, you sacrifice lives. The clock on the wall ticks louder. Soon, the polls will open. Once the first votes are counted, it will be too late. You think of the good leader. You've met them once, briefly. They shook your hand, looked you in the eye, and spoke with quiet determination. They said they believed in the people, even when the people didn't believe in themselves. If they knew what you were about to do, would they thank you or condemn you? You don't know. That uncertainty gnaws at you. A knock sounds at the door. You freeze. It's your colleague, face pale and drawn. "It's bad out there," they say. "People are already lining up. There are fights at some of the stations. If the tyrant wins, it'll be a bloodbath." You nod, unable to speak. They glance at the screen, at the line of code, and then at you. They don't say anything, but their eyes hold a question you can't answer. When they leave, you sit in silence. You open another window on the screen. It's the real-time map of polling places, little dots blinking red and green. Each dot represents hundreds of people standing in line, believing their votes matter. You whisper an apology to them, though you're not sure which group you're apologizing to, the ones who will be saved or the ones you might deceive. Then you press the key. The code runs in seconds. Numbers shift silently, invisibly. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. Just a gentle push, like tilting a scale ever so slightly. When it's done, you sit back, shaking. The room feels colder now. Outside, dawn breaks. People stream into polling stations, unaware of what you've done. They smile, laugh, argue. They believe this is their choice, their future. As the day unfolds, reports come in. The election is close, too close to call. Then, late at night, the announcement comes. The good leader has won by a narrow margin. Crowds cheer. Fireworks light the sky. You stand at the window, watching the celebration. You saved them. You saved everything. But when you close your eyes, all you see is that single line of code and the truth you buried beneath it. The folder sits on your desk like a loaded weapon. It's thick, stuffed with papers and digital files you've copied over months of quiet investigation. The evidence inside is clear. Contracts signed in secret, money funneled through hidden accounts, decisions made not for the public good, but for private gain. Names you once respected appear again and again in neat black ink, their signatures proof of betrayal. You stare at it, unable to touch it. Outside your office window, the city hums with life. Cars crawl through traffic. People hurry along sidewalks. Street vendors shout to passers-by. Everything looks normal, almost peaceful. But you know it's all built on lies. When you started your job years ago, you believed in the system. You worked long hours, convinced you were part of something bigger than yourself. You thought the rules were clear: protect the people, serve the truth. Then you saw the cracks. Small at first, odd budget changes, quiet meetings behind closed doors, projects that never seemed to match their public descriptions. You told yourself it was bureaucracy, nothing more. But the cracks widened. Now you've seen the whole rotten structure beneath the surface. You know who's pulling the strings. The governor, the chief of police, top business leaders. They're all tied together. They profit while entire neighborhoods suffer. Schools close, hospitals run out of supplies, roads crumble, and the same officials give speeches about progress while lining their pockets. Part of you wants to march straight into the press room and dump everything on the table. Let the world see the truth. Let the guilty fall. But you know what would come next. The system is fragile. If the people lose faith all at once, there will be chaos. Services will collapse overnight. Police and emergency workers will walk off the job. Rival factions will fight for control. People will riot in the streets, desperate and afraid. Innocent lives will be lost in the storm. You've seen countries fall apart before, watched footage of cities burning, neighbors turning on each other. That could happen here if the truth explodes without warning. You run a hand over your face, exhausted. No matter what you choose, someone will pay the price. The knock at your door makes you jump. It's Clara, one of the few people you still trust. She steps inside quietly, her expression tight. "You have it, don't you?" she asks. You nod, unable to speak. She closes the door and sits across from you. "If you go public," she says, "they'll come after you first. They'll call you a liar. They'll destroy your name. And even if the truth gets out, there's no guarantee the city survives it." Her words echo your own thoughts, but hearing them aloud makes them heavier. "What's the alternative?" you ask. "Just sit here and let them keep stealing? Keep ruining lives?" Clara doesn't answer right away. She looks out the window at the quiet streets below. "Maybe the alternative is slower," she says at last. "Work from the inside. Take them down one piece at a time. Keep the system standing while you fix it." You want to believe her, but the folder between you feels like a ticking bomb. The corruption is too deep, too wide. Picking at it slowly might not be enough. You think of the people hurt by these lies. The family who lost their home because funds meant for housing disappeared. The children in overcrowded classrooms because money for new schools went to private accounts. The patients turned away from hospitals because supplies were sold on the black market. Their faces flash in your mind, one after another. Clara reaches across the desk and puts her hand on yours. "If you blow this open," she says softly, "you might bring justice, but you'll also bring chaos. Are you ready for that?" You don't answer. That night, you take the folder home. You spread the papers across your kitchen table. Each document feels like a piece of a puzzle you wish you'd never started. Your phone buzzes with messages from reporters you've worked with in the past. They're hungry for a story, eager to publish. One text reads simply, "Whenever you're ready, we'll go live." You set the phone down and stare at the evidence. In your mind, you play out both futures. In one, you send the files. The news breaks. People flood the streets, chanting for justice. For a moment, there's hope. Then, the fighting starts. Power vacuums form. Violence spreads. Months later, the city lies in ruins. In the other future, you stay silent. The guilty keep their power. Lives continue to be destroyed in quiet, hidden ways. But the streets stay calm. People believe the system works, even though you know it doesn't. Neither future feels like victory. Around midnight, you walk through the city. You see families sitting in diners, couples strolling under streetlights, teenagers laughing in front of a movie theater. They have no idea what you know. Their world feels safe because of a lie. At a small park, you sit on a bench and watch the lights flicker in apartment windows. A man nearby hums softly while pushing his daughter on a swing. Her laughter rings through the cold night air. You wonder what will happen to her if everything falls apart. Back at home, you pour yourself a drink and stare at the folder one last time. Your hands tremble as you pick up the phone. You call Clara. When she answers, you speak quietly. "I can't destroy everything," you say. "Not yet." There's a pause, then a breath of relief on the other end. "We'll find another way," she says. You hang up and take the folder to the old fireplace in your living room. The flames rise as paper curls and blackens. The room fills with smoke and the smell of burning ink. You watch until nothing remains but ash. The city wakes the next morning unchanged. Newspapers report on traffic jams, sports scores, weather patterns. People drink coffee, go to work, kiss their children goodbye. But you know the truth beneath the surface. As you walk through the streets, you carry it like a ghost. You saved the city from chaos, but you left its wounds hidden, festering. One day, you might reveal everything. For now, you keep walking, silent, while the lie holds the world together a little longer. The offer comes without warning. One moment, you are sitting alone at your kitchen table, drinking lukewarm coffee and staring at a stack of unpaid bills. The next, a stranger appears in the chair across from you. You don't see them enter. They are just there, calm and steady, their eyes sharp, like they already know every thought in your head. They speak in a voice that feels too smooth, too certain. For 1 year, they say, you can have unlimited power, no limits, no barriers. Anything you decide will happen. At the end of that year, the power disappears, and you return to who you are now. You laugh at first, thinking it's a joke, but when they lift their hand, the coffee mug in front of you floats into the air and then shatters into dust with a soft snap of their fingers. You stop laughing. They lean forward. Use it for good. Use it for evil. Use it however you wish. But understand this, every choice you make will have consequences you cannot undo. Then they vanish, leaving only silence and the faint smell of smoke. The next morning, you test it. Small things at first. You fix the broken faucet without touching it. You make the lights turn on and off with a thought. The power responds instantly, like an extension of your will. Soon, you're trying bigger things. You erase your debt with a wave of your hand. You heal the pain in your knee that's bothered you for years. The feeling is intoxicating. You don't have to wait, plan, or hope anymore. You just decide, and the world bends. At first, you focus on good. You visit a hospital and heal every sick child you see. Their parents fall to their knees, crying, clutching their now healthy kids. You erase hunger in a small village halfway around the world. You rebuild a bridge that collapsed in another country. News spreads fast. Reporters talk about miracles. Religious leaders call it divine intervention. No one knows it's you. You hide in the background, content to watch the relief on people's faces. But soon, you realize how endless the suffering is. Every time you fix one problem, 10 more appear. You heal a child here, but across the ocean, another dies. You rebuild one town while another burns. The scope of pain is overwhelming. You start making rules for yourself. Focus on the greatest good. Don't get distracted by individual tragedies. But sticking to those rules proves harder than you imagined. A woman finds you one night, falling at your feet, begging you to save her husband. You tell her you can't, that you need to think of the bigger picture. Her scream echoes in your ears long after she's gone. As the months pass, the lines blur. You begin to make decisions not just about saving lives, but about shaping them. When a government refuses to provide aid to its starving citizens, you don't just feed the people. You erase the leaders and replace them with ones you believe will do better. At first, you feel righteous. Then you notice that some of your chosen leaders start to abuse their power. You fix that too, removing them without hesitation. Soon, you are deciding entire governments, reshaping the world map like it's clay in your hands. People begin to fear the changes. Whispers spread about a shadow force controlling everything. Protests erupt. You silence the protests, telling yourself it's for stability. Your friends notice the difference in you. One night, your oldest friend confronts you. You're not the same, they say. You don't even ask what people want anymore. You just decide for them. We snap at them, defensive. I know better. I've seen what happens when people are left to choose for themselves. They destroy each other. The words hang in the air like smoke. You realize too late how much you sound like the very tyrants you once removed. You tell yourself you can stop whenever you want, but you don't. Each day, you see more flaws to correct, more systems to fix. You no longer think in terms of right and wrong. You think in terms of efficiency, of outcomes. If a village resists your changes, you wipe it away and rebuild it from scratch. If a city rebels, you silence it completely. You convince yourself it's temporary, just until peace is restored. At night, you dream of the first day when you healed sick children and felt pure joy. Those dreams feel like they belong to someone else. 1 year passes faster than you expect. The stranger returns, appearing in the same chair as before. Their calm expression hasn't changed. It's time, they say. You stand in a room filled with maps and screens showing every corner of the world. Armies move at your command. Governments rise and fall because you will it. You've remade the world in your image. You tell the stranger you can't stop now. Without you, everything will collapse. People will fight. Corruption will return. Chaos will swallow everything you've built. They tilt their head. Maybe, or maybe they'll rebuild on their own. You've never given them the chance. You step closer, your voice shaking. I did what I had to do. I saved them. The stranger's eyes are unreadable. You saved them, or you controlled them? You want to argue, but the words die on your tongue. As the last seconds of your power tick away, you look out over the city below. For a moment, it is silent, orderly, perfect. Then the power vanishes. Just like that, you are ordinary again. In the days that follow, chaos erupts. Governments crumble, leaders vanish, people take to the streets in anger and fear. The systems you built unravel without you there to hold them together. You watch helplessly as the world spirals. One night, you walk through the city you once ruled. Fires burn in the distance. Graffiti covers walls, some praising you as a savior, others cursing you as a tyrant. A man passes you without recognizing your face. You overhear him say, "We thought someone was watching over us. Turns out it was just another liar." You keep walking, silent. In your pocket, you carry a single note the stranger left behind. Power doesn't reveal who you are, it makes you forget. You don't know if you used your year for good or if you simply lost yourself along the way. All you know is that the world now carries the mark of your choices, and you will live long enough to see what they become without you. The night air is heavy with rain, the kind that soaks through your clothes and clings to your skin. You take the long way home, cutting through side streets to avoid the crowded main road. The alley you pass is narrow and dark, lit only by a flickering street lamp at the far end. Normally, you would keep your head down and walk fast, but a sound stops you in your tracks. A sharp cry, muffled and desperate. Your first instinct is to tell yourself you misheard. Maybe it was a cat or the wind. You start to move on, but then you hear it again, clearer this time. A voice, high and panicked, begging for help. Your heart begins to pound. You step closer to the mouth of the alley and peer inside. At first, you see only shadows. Then your eyes adjust and you make out shapes. Two men, one holding another figure pinned against the wall. The victim struggles, twisting, kicking, but the attacker is stronger. The second man stands nearby, a lookout. He notices you almost immediately, his head snapping up. His eyes lock on yours. You freeze. Time stretches thin, every second drawn out. You know what you are seeing. It's not a fight between equals. It's an attack. The kind of thing you read about later in the news, shaking your head and wondering how no one stopped it. Your breath comes fast, uneven. You could shout. You could run toward them. You could do something. But another thought pushes in, cold and sharp. If you act, they might turn on you. You aren't strong. You aren't trained. You have no weapon, no plan. If they decide to hurt you too, no one will come to save you. The lookout takes a step forward. His face is hard, unreadable. The message is clear. Stay out of this. Your body screams at you to run. Your legs tremble, ready to bolt. But then the victim cries out again, and it's the kind of sound that cuts through everything. A sound of pure fear. You glance up and down the street. There are no other witnesses, no cars passing by, just you, them, and the dark. Your phone is in your pocket. You could call for help, but even as you think it, you know how long it would take for anyone to arrive. Too long. By then, it would be over. You remember reading about the Bystander Effect, how people freeze when others are around, each one assuming someone else will step in. But there is no one else here, just you. If you do nothing, that person will suffer because you were too afraid. The rain feels colder now. You take a shaky breath and try to think. Maybe you can distract them. Maybe you don't have to fight directly. If you shout loud enough, they might run, afraid of being caught. You gather every ounce of courage you have and yell, "Hey, police are on their way." Your voice echoes off the walls. For a moment, everything stops. The attacker hesitates. The lookout turns towards you fully now, his face twisting in anger. Then the victim breaks free, stumbling toward the open end of the alley. The attacker curses and lunges to grab them again. Without thinking, you rush forward, grabbing a trash can lid from the ground and swinging it with both hands. It connects with a hollow clang. The attacker stumbles back, more surprised than hurt. "Run," you shout to the victim. They don't need to be told twice. They sprint past you, out into the street. The lookout curses and moves toward you. Fear slams into you like a physical force. You drop the makeshift weapon and run, your shoes slipping on the wet pavement. You don't look back. Your lungs burn as you race down the street. Behind you, you hear footsteps for a few terrifying moments, then nothing. Either they gave up, or you were faster. When you finally stop, gasping for air, the victim is nowhere to be seen. Maybe they kept running. Maybe they found somewhere safe to hide. Your hands shake so badly, you almost drop your phone as you dial emergency services. Your voice cracks as you give the operator the location and describe what you saw. By the time the police arrive, the alley is empty. The attackers are gone. Only a smear of blood on the wall and a dropped scarf remain as proof of what happened. An officer takes your statement. You can see doubt in his eyes, though he doesn't say anything outright. Without witnesses or suspects, it will be hard to follow up. When it's over, you walk home slowly, every sound making you flinch. The rain has stopped, but the night feels colder than before. Inside your apartment, you sit in the dark, replaying the moment over and over. You think about how close you came to doing nothing. If you hadn't shouted, if you hadn't acted, what would have happened? You also think about how close you came to dying, if they had decided to fight instead of flee. You might not be here now. Your clothes are still damp. Your hands are still trembling. You try to convince yourself you did the right thing, but doubt creeps in. The next day, you check the news. There's no mention of the attack. Maybe the victim never came forward. Maybe they're afraid. You'll never know for sure if you saved them or just delayed the inevitable. As you stand by the window, looking down at the busy street below, you see people hurrying past, their faces blank, their eyes focused elsewhere. You wonder how many of them would act if they saw what you saw. You hope you'll never face that choice again, but deep down, you know the moment will stay with you forever. The sound of a cry for help, the feel of your heart pounding as you decided between fear and action, and the knowledge that silence would have been its own kind of violence. The room is silent except for the steady hum of the machine in front of you. Its surface is smooth and cold, a single button glowing softly in the center. A simple design for something that could change the world. You stand there, staring at it, knowing what pressing it will do. The choice is clear. One act, one moment, and centuries of pain for one group will vanish. No more slurs. No more systemic barriers. No more quiet, invisible wounds passed down through generations. The hatred that once weighed on them will dissolve like smoke. They will wake tomorrow free from the weight of prejudice, able to walk through the world without fear or shame. But the cost is etched into your mind. The machine doesn't erase hate, it redirects it. When one group rises, another will fall. The bigotry doesn't vanish, it simply changes its target. A different community, maybe one you've never considered before, will face the full force of that cruelty. The scientist who built the machine explained it plainly. Hate, they said, is like water. You can block one stream, but the current finds another path. At first, you thought it was ridiculous. Surely people could learn, evolve, grow beyond their old prejudices. But history proved otherwise. For every injustice stamped out, another seemed to take its place. You look through the glass window at the two groups waiting outside. On the left are those who have suffered for centuries. You see them standing tall despite their history of oppression. Parents holding children close. Elders with faces lined by years of struggle. Their eyes are full of hope. On the right stands the other group. Unaware, they are about to become the next target. They laugh and talk casually, at ease in a world that still treats them fairly. They don't know that pressing the button would mark them forever, branding them as outsiders, scapegoats, enemies. Your stomach churns. Memories rise unbidden. You think of your grandmother, who told you stories about her childhood, the insults she endured, the doors slammed in her face, the nights she cried quietly so no one would hear. You think of your best friend, beaten once for daring to walk in the wrong neighborhood. You remember your own encounters, the whispers, the stares, the times you felt smaller than you ever should have. Part of you burns with anger. Why should anyone continue to bear that weight when you have the power to stop it? Why not free your people, your loved ones, once and for all? Then you think of the others. You picture a child from the second group, laughing as they play in a park. Tomorrow, that same child could face the same hatred you've known. Their innocence would be stripped away, replaced by fear and resentment. They would grow up asking why the world turned on them. The balance seems impossible. A voice behind you startles you. It's the scientist, watching carefully. You must decide soon, they say. The machine can only be used once. You turn to them, your voice rough. There has to be another way. Can't we just remove the hate entirely? They shake their head. Human nature doesn't work like that. You can change where the prejudice goes, but not its existence. This is the only way. You want to scream at them, to demand they fix their invention, but deep down you know they're right. Hate has always been part of the world, shifting like a shadow from one target to another. You step closer to the glass, studying the faces on both sides. On the left, a woman meets your gaze. Her eyes are wet with unshed tears. Her hands clasp tightly in front of her chest. She mouths the word, please. On the right, a young man laughs, unaware of the danger looming over him. His life tomorrow will be shaped by a decision he never had a chance to make. Your mind races. You imagine pressing the button. The left side would erupt in joy. Generations of trauma would be erased in an instant. Streets would fill with celebration. For the first time, they would feel truly equal, truly free. But then you see the right side. Confusion at first, then fear, then anger as they begin to feel the sting of the same prejudice. Businesses closing their doors to them. Laws twisted to push them aside. Violence in the streets. You know what that cycle looks like. You've lived it. You turn back to the scientist. What happens if I don't choose? Their expression hardens. Then nothing changes. The world stays exactly as it is. The current group continues to suffer. The other remains safe. Leaving the button untouched feels like cowardice, like abandoning the people who have suffered the longest. But pressing it feels like betrayal, like condemning innocents to pain they don't deserve. You close your eyes, trying to remember your grandmother's voice. She used to tell you that kindness was a fragile thing, easily broken but worth protecting. You wonder what she would say now. In your mind, you see two futures. In the first, you press the button. The faces of those you love light up with relief and joy. You feel pride for a moment, a sense of victory. Then, over time, you begin to notice the other group suffering in the same ways. The pattern repeats, just with different names. In the second future, you walk away. The current victims remain trapped in the same old cycle, but at least no new group is condemned. Their suffering continues, but it doesn't spread. Neither path feels like justice. Your hand hovers over the button. Sweat beads on your forehead. You think of every insult, every injustice, every quiet act of cruelty you've endured. You think of how deeply you want it to end. Then you glance one last time at the other group. Their laughter has faded as they watch you through the glass, sensing something is wrong even if they don't understand what. The scientist steps closer. Time is running out. You take a breath so deep it hurts. Your fingers brush the button, but you don't press it yet. You whisper a silent apology to both sides, knowing that no matter what you choose, the world will never be the same. The room feels smaller now, the weight of history pressing in from all sides. Outside, the two groups wait, unaware that their futures rest on a single decision and a single trembling hand. When you finally move, it's with a sharp, decisive motion. The machine hums louder, the glow intensifies, and you feel the shift ripple through the air like a silent storm. Through the glass, one side erupts in celebration, while the other stumbles back in confusion and fear. You drop your hand and step away, trembling. The machine powers down, its job complete. The scientist says nothing. There is nothing left to say. You turn toward the door, knowing you've traded one pain for another, and that neither group will ever truly understand the cost of the choice you made alone. The village sits at the edge of the desert, its houses built from sun-baked clay and worn smooth by wind and time. You arrive at dusk, your clothes coated with dust from the long journey. The air smells of smoke and spices. Children laugh as they chase one another through narrow streets. It almost feels peaceful, like you've stepped into another world. You came here on assignment, to document local traditions for a cultural exchange program. Your goal was simple: observe, listen, and report. You were told to be respectful, to keep your opinions to yourself. At first, it seemed easy. You spent your days talking with villagers, learning their stories. You admired their craftsmanship, their songs, their sense of community. Then, one evening, you witnessed something that made your stomach twist. It began with drums. People gathered in the square, their faces lit by firelight. You stood among them, notebook in hand, ready to record the event. At first, you didn't understand what was happening. The crowd sang and danced, their voices rising in unison. But then you saw the center of the circle and froze. A young girl knelt there, her eyes wide with fear. Beside her stood elders holding ceremonial knives. The crowd's energy shifted from joyous to solemn. Your translator leaned close and whispered, "It is their rite of passage. She must endure this to become part of the community." You stared at him, not sure you heard correctly. The details he gave you were worse than you imagined. The ritual would leave permanent scars. It was painful, dangerous, and by your standards, cruel. You wanted to rush forward, to stop it, to scream that this was wrong. But the villagers were smiling, proud. Parents held their children close, explaining that one day they too would stand in the center of that circle. The girl's mother wept, but her tears were not of sorrow, they were of pride. Your heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at you to act. In your country, this would be a crime. Authorities would intervene. Arrests would be made, and the child would be protected. But here, it was different. This was not just a ritual to them. It was sacred, part of their identity. To challenge it would be to challenge their entire way of life. The translator must have seen the conflict on your face. "Do not interfere," he said quietly. "You are a guest. To them, you are the outsider. You do not understand." You wanted to argue, but his words held truth. You didn't grow up here. You hadn't lived their history. What gave you the right to impose your beliefs on them? The drums grew louder. The girl's small body trembled. She met your eyes for the briefest moment. There was no anger there, only fear and a flicker of hope, as if she wondered if you might help. You stepped back, your chest tight. You thought of your own childhood, of being taught that freedom and safety were universal values. You remembered the lessons drilled into you about protecting the vulnerable. You thought of the laws you lived by, the systems you trusted. But those laws held no power here. The first cut was made. The girl screamed, and the crowd cheered. You flinched, your nails digging into your palms. Every part of you wanted to run forward, to grab her and flee into the night. But what then? The villagers would chase you. Even if you escaped, where would you take her? Back to your world where she would be seen as broken, out of place? She would lose her family, her community, her entire sense of self. And what of the village? They would see you as an enemy, a colonizer forcing your ways upon them. They would close themselves off to all outsiders. Their distrust deepened. You pictured the fallout in vivid detail. Foreign aid cut off, violent clashes, the loss of fragile connections built over years. Your hands shook. You tried to remind yourself you were here to observe, not to judge. But the line between observing and enabling felt thin, almost meaningless. The ceremony continued. The girl's cries grew hoarse, then faded to quiet sobs. The crowd chanted louder, drowning her out. The translator leaned in again. "They believe this gives her strength," he said softly. "They believe it binds her to her people." "Do they believe she wants this?" you asked, your voice low and trembling. He didn't answer. When it was over, the villagers lifted the girl into the air, cheering. Her face was pale, her body limp. Her mother kissed her forehead, whispering words of love and pride. The crowd's joy was overwhelming, almost suffocating. You stood apart, feeling both invisible and exposed. Later, alone in your small room, you paced the floor, replaying the scene again and again. You thought of calling the program director back home, reporting what you'd seen, but you knew what would happen if you did. Officials would descend on the village, condemning their practices, imposing new rules. The villagers would resist, and violence would likely follow. You stared at your phone, torn between two worlds. You could say nothing, keep your head down, and finish your assignment. The village would remain as it is, the ritual continuing for generations. Or you could act, knowing that your actions might save one child while destroying the community that child came from. Neither choice felt right. As the night wore on, you thought about the girl's eyes when she looked at you. That brief flicker of hope haunted you. Did she want to be saved? Or did she simply not understand what was happening? You sat on the floor, clutching your notebook. Its pages were filled with careful observations, songs, recipes, histories. Now they felt like evidence, like weapons. You realized something then. Even if you didn't press the button or make the call, you were still making a choice. Silence was a decision, just as much as action. At dawn, the village woke to another day. The square was already bustling with life, as if the night's events had been no more than a celebration. The girl walked among them, supported by her mother, her face unreadable. You stood at the edge of the crowd, your bag packed. The translator joined you, his expression somber. "Are you leaving?" he asked. You nodded. He studied you for a moment. "Will you tell your people what you saw?" You hesitated. "I don't know," you admitted. As you turned to go, the girl looked up. For a moment, your eyes met again. You wanted to promise her something, anything, but no words came. You walked away, the sound of drums fading behind you, carrying with you the weight of a decision you never truly made and a question that would follow you for the rest of your life. It starts with a whisper, a simple idea, small enough to seem harmless. You could tell a lie, a tiny anonymous lie that would spread like a seed carried by the wind. It wouldn't hurt anyone. In fact, it would make people happy. That's what you tell yourself as you sit in front of your laptop, staring at the blank screen. The world feels heavy these days. The news is full of disasters, scandals, and grief. Everywhere you go, people seem worn down, their faces tired, their laughter forced. You feel it too. A dull ache in your chest that never quite goes away. You think, what if I could give them something good to believe in, even if it isn't real? The idea came to you last week, after overhearing two strangers talking on the bus. They spoke about a local park, rumored to be closing due to budget cuts. Their voices were full of sadness, like they were losing a piece of their childhood. You watched their expressions and thought about how fragile hope can be. Tonight, sitting alone in your apartment, you imagine a different kind of rumor. Something bright, something that would spread joy instead of fear. Maybe a story about a mysterious benefactor donating money to save the park, or a tale about a long-lost treasure found beneath the old fountain, sparking curiosity and excitement. You smile at the thought. It would be like planting a flower in the middle of a cracked sidewalk. But then another thought creeps in. A lie is still a lie. Even if no one gets hurt, isn't it wrong to deceive people? You lean back in your chair, wrestling with the question. You remember being a kid, hearing stories your parents told to make you smile. Fairy tales, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy. You believed them with all your heart, and those lies never harmed you. If anything, they made your world feel magical. Maybe this would be the same. You open a new post on a community forum and begin to type. The words flow easily. A wealthy traveler passed through our town last week. Moved by our park's beauty, they anonymously donated enough money to keep it open for years to come. The city will announce it soon, but I wanted to share the good news first. Our park is safe. You read it back twice. It sounds believable, harmless. You hover over the post button, your finger trembling. You think of the strangers on the bus, their sad voices. You imagine them hearing this news, their faces lighting up with relief. You imagine families planning picnics, children running through the park without worry. You click the button. The lie is out in the world now, invisible threads carrying it from screen to screen. You close your laptop and try to sleep, your heart racing. The next morning, you check the forum. The post has exploded with comments. Dozens of people thanking you for sharing, others expressing joy and excitement. Someone writes, "I grew up playing in that park. I'm crying right now. Thank you for giving me hope." You feel a rush of warmth. For the first time in weeks, you smile. The lie spreads beyond the forum. People post about it on social media. Local news outlets pick it up as an unconfirmed report. By the end of the day, the entire town is buzzing. You walk to the park that evening, blending into the crowd. Families gather beneath the old trees, talking and laughing. Strangers smile at one another. There's a sense of unity, like the whole community has been given a gift. A little boy runs past you, clutching a kite. His mother calls after him, her voice full of joy. You feel your chest tighten. For a moment, you believe your own story. Then you overhear a group of volunteers discussing plans to raise money for the park. They talk about organizing bake sales, charity events, and petitions. Their excitement is infectious, but it gnaws at you. You know their efforts are built on a lie. When the truth comes out, their joy will turn to anger and betrayal. That night, you lie awake, staring at the ceiling. You wonder if you've done something good or planted the seeds of future pain. Days pass. The rumor grows. The city council releases a statement, denying the donation, but thanking the community for its passion. People don't believe them. They accuse the council of hiding the truth, of trying to claim credit for the park's salvation later. Arguments erupt online. Neighbors who once celebrated together now fight in comment threads. Your chest feels heavy as you read their words. You never meant for this to happen. You consider confessing. You could log back in and reveal that you started the rumor, that it was just a story meant to bring happiness. But you imagine the fury that would follow. People would hate you. They would hate each other for believing you. Instead, you stay silent. One evening, you return to the park. The crowd has thinned, but some families still gather there. You sit on a bench, watching a group of children chase fireflies. Their laughter fills the warm night air. An older man sits beside you. You don't know him, but he begins to talk. "I've lived here my whole life," he says. "When I heard about the donation, I felt like the world still had good people in it. Maybe it's not true, maybe it is, doesn't matter. For a few days, I got to believe in something better." His words cut deep. You nod, unable to speak. When he leaves, you remain on the bench, caught between relief and guilt. You gave people hope, even if it was built on a lie. You wonder if hope born from falsehood is still worth something, or if it's just another kind of cruelty, delayed until the moment the truth finally breaks through. As you walk home, you hear snippets of conversation, see lingering smiles on tired faces. The rumor is fading now, slowly being replaced by other stories, other distractions. You realize that lies, like hope, don't last forever. But for a brief moment, you held a whole community in the palm of your hand, shaping their happiness with nothing more than words. And you know, deep down, that you could do it again. The file sits open on your desk, its pages covered in neat columns of numbers. They are almost unreal, too large to comprehend. Billions of dollars held by a handful of people. You read the numbers over and over, trying to make sense of them, but they never seem real. It's like staring at the night sky and trying to count the stars. You've spent years working in shelters, food banks, and clinics. You've seen what poverty does up close. You've watched families huddle together in tents under bridges. You've handed out blankets knowing there weren't enough to go around. You've listened to children talk about skipping meals, their voices flat with hunger. The smell of despair never leaves you, not even when you go home and shower. Tonight, you sit in a cramped room lit by a single lamp, looking at the file and thinking about the choice in front of you. It isn't hypothetical. You've been given access to a system that could move unimaginable amounts of money with a few keystrokes. Offshore accounts, hidden trusts, secret vaults, every layer of protection stripped away. One click, and the wealth of a few would be gone. It wouldn't vanish into thin air. It would pour into programs that could change everything. Housing for the homeless, food for the hungry, clean water, medical care, education. Poverty could end in an instant, not just improved, a true ending. You think about the people who hold that wealth now. The top 1%, living in mansions so large they need maps to navigate them. They fly in private jets, buy paintings that cost more than entire neighborhoods, spend more on a single dinner than a family makes in a year. You've seen their faces in magazines, smiling at charity galas while wearing jewelry worth more than a small country's budget. They give speeches about generosity while their companies exploit workers, pollute rivers, and drive up prices. The file shows their names, their numbers, their secrets. You could take it all, but you know what that would mean. It would be theft, plain and simple. No matter how noble the goal, you would be breaking the law. You would be deciding, on your own, who deserves what. Your stomach twists as you imagine the fallout. The world would erupt when the truth came out. Governments would scramble to explain how it happened. The wealthy would call it a crime against civilization. They would claim you destroyed trust in the system, that you destabilized the global economy. They might not be wrong. You remember a man you met at the shelter last winter. He was quiet, always sitting in the corner, clutching a worn backpack. One night, you sat beside him. He told you he used to have a house, a job, a family. Then he lost his job when the company closed. His savings vanished. His wife left, taking their children with her. He didn't do anything wrong. The system failed him, and no one cared. As you think about him, you picture the faces of those at the top. People who could have helped, who had the power to change things, but chose not to. They call it success, but you've seen what their success costs. The contrast is unbearable. Your finger hovers over the keyboard. You try to imagine explaining your choice to someone who doesn't understand. You picture yourself saying, "I didn't do it for me. I did it for them, for the millions who will never have a voice." But then you picture a courtroom, a judge staring down at you, asking why you thought you had the right to decide for everyone else. You wonder if anyone is meant to hold that kind of power. The screen glows in front of you, cold and impersonal. Rows of accounts, waiting for a command. You think of history. Revolutions started by people who wanted to change the world. Some brought freedom. Others brought chaos. Often, they brought both. Your mind drifts to a childhood memory. Your mother standing in line at a food bank, her shoulders slumped, her face pale with shame. You remember how you promised yourself that when you grew up, you would fight to make sure no one felt that way again. This could be the fight. You close your eyes and picture a world transformed. No more hunger. Children in schools instead of on the streets. Families sleeping in warm beds instead of under bridges. Entire neighborhoods rebuilt. It feels so close, you can almost touch it. Then you picture the chaos that would follow. Markets crashing, banks failing, jobs disappearing overnight. Even the people you wanted to help might suffer in the short term. The clock on the wall ticks louder, filling the silence. You tell yourself you don't have to do it all at once. You could take only part of the wealth, spread it slowly so no one notices. It would still help millions, but it would be less risky. But even that is theft. You think of the wealthy, some of whom inherited their riches, others who built them through work, luck, or ruthlessness. Do they deserve to lose everything? Maybe not. But do they deserve to hoard while others starve? There's no clean answer. Your hand trembles as you reach for the keyboard. The code is ready. One command, and it's done. You whisper the names of the people you've met in the shelters, the children you've seen in clinics, the families huddled under thin blankets. You tell yourself this is for them. You press the key. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then the numbers on the screen begin to shift, rolling like waves. Accounts empty, balances plummet. A map of the world lights up as the money flows into new channels: food programs, housing projects, clean water systems. You sit back, breathless. Outside your window, the city looks the same. Streetlights flicker. Cars move through the rain. No one knows what you've done, yet. Tomorrow the headlines will explode. Some will call you a hero. Others will call you a criminal. You will have no voice in the argument. You will vanish into the shadows, carrying the secret with you. But tonight, for the first time in your life, you feel the weight of poverty begin to lift, if only a little. Somewhere, a child will go to bed with a full stomach. A family will unlock the door to a new home. A man will find clean water waiting where there was none before. You don't know if the world will forgive you. You don't know if you've saved it or broken it. All you know is that you made a choice, and there is no undoing it now.